Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Drama on this Friday with episodes of Gunsmoke starring William Conrad, Murder at Midnight, Wherever I Go from 1947, Philo Vance starring Jackson Beck from 1950, and The Lives of Harry Lime starring Orson Welles going back to 1952, and an episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, in fact, the final episode of the Quarter Hour serial. That's all coming up here on this Friday, 28th day of March, 87th day of the year. And it was on this date in 1942, in occupied France, British naval forces raided the German-occupied port of St. Nazaire. In 1946, the State Department released the Atchison-Lilienthal Report, outlining a plan for the international control of nuclear power. In Pennsylvania, on this date in 1979, a pump in the reactor cooling system failed in the 3 Mile Island nuclear accident, resulting in the evaporation of some contaminated water, and it caused a nuclear meltdown.
From the high radiation readings that are being measured inside the reactor containment, we have to assume that there has been some damage to the nuclear fuel in the reactor core. However, we are not able at this time to assess what the nature of the damage is or what the extent of it is.
I'm sure that some of them got some exposure, but I am positive that no one was overexposed.
There was a problem in a feed water pump that resulted in the shutdown of the reactor of unit number 2 at 3 Mile Island. In the course of that happening, we followed the normal precautionary emergency procedures, notifying the various agencies of the state and local governments.
Metropolitan Edison Company spokesman telling people not to be alarmed, but one worker at 3 Mile Island said he was done.
I think after this, I'll think twice about coming back here to work, to be honest with you. You know, it scares me. It scares the hell out of me.
The government spent almost 15 years cleaning up the mess, a price tag at 1994 of over $1 billion cleaning up the 1979 nuclear accident at 3 Mile Island. Today's dollars, $2.1 billion. In 1990, President George Herbert Walker Bush posthumously awarded Jesse Owens the Congressional Gold Medal, and he deserved it. Look at what he did to the Nazis. I think the wound of the ego that he gave them in the Olympics in Germany was more than enough. And it was on this date in 2000, a Murray County, Georgia school bus got hit by a CSX freight train. 3 kids died in the accident. Passing away on this date in 1969, President Dwight David Eisenhower, the 34th President of the U.S., and as President, best known for his war exploits, he offered a warning to people that we should listen to today.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Ike warning about the military-industrial complex. That is something that keeps wars raging around the world. And, you know, at least we're trying to get out of them, finally. Also passing away on this date, in addition to President Eisenhower, the wonderful sad-faced clown Emmett Kelly, game show host Art James, who had a delightful sense of humor. I would put Art James probably second up there with Bill Cullen as my favorite game show host. The Foggy Mountain Boys, Earl Scruggs, and Governor Gatling in the television show Benson, James Noble. All those folks passing away on this date in history. Let's talk about people who were born on this date who are no longer with us, and they include band leader Paul Whiteman, naturalist and television host Marlon Perkins of Wild Kingdom fame. The composer of such great songs as Tammy, Silver Bells, and Buttons and Bows, composer Jay Livingston, born on this date. Actor Dirk Bogarde. The White Shadow star Ken Howard, and pro wrestler. Even before he got to the WWE, he was amazing. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, all born on this date in history. Hennig taken from us far too young.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, the former president of the Philippines, 80 years old, being held as a war criminal by the International Criminal Court, and I think unjustly. I think Duterte actually did what a lot of presidents should have done in the Philippines, and that's attack the drug problems and attack the problem of rebels. And the presidents that are there, and including the current president, I shouldn't say anything, but what is it? Corruption runs in the family, if you get my drift. Singer-actress Reba McEntire, 70 years old. From Red Dwarf, Chris Berry is 65. Oh, Vince Vaughn, also 55 today.
It's the kind of thing where literally I play the game and it's like 4 hours go by. Fate has me highly skilled and loaded with talent.
From The Breakup, Vince Vaughn, 55 today. From Pacific Blue, former beauty queen Shannon Mokler is 50. From 10 Things I Hate About You and Save the Last Dance, Julia Stiles, 44. Lady Gaga, 39 today, Poker Face. And from Spider-Man Homecoming, Laura Harrier is 35. Those just a few of the people celebrating the 28th day of March as their birthday. If this is your birthday,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
and we get started on this Friday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of Gunsmoke starring William Conrad. 72 years ago, March 28, 1953, The Quarter Horse.
Two weeks, 14 days, 326 hours. Every second that your family could be exposed to radiation after a nuclear attack. Radiation that kills.
To survive, a fallout shelter is a necessity. Equipment and supplies are essential.
Now, Survive All Shelters, one of the nation's leading manufacturers of fallout shelters, offers a basic equipment kit with
a Conrad high-powered radio, transistor operated for long battery life,
a complete, fully stocked first aid kit,
a heavy-duty fire extinguisher, emergency water containers, a chemical toilet for protection against contamination and disease,
extra strength saran and rayon bunks,
a radiation meter and individual dosimeters.
For protection every second of each hour of every day. See a Survive All Shelter now.
You can read about the, actually one of the honest survival shelter manufacturers, Survival, by going to our links down at classicradio.stream in the show notes or at classicradio.stream is what I was trying to say. Let's go back to a time when the Survival might have been considered something you want in your home. 72 years ago, March 28, 1953, William Conrad as Marshal Matt Dillon in the real Gunsmoke.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Bartender, set out another bottle of that rye whiskey. Now look, Mr. Thatcher, you just tell us once more about this stud colt you got, huh?
He's a good colt, Mr. Butler.
And a running colt, you tell me.
He can run some.
Some? About the fastest thing in these parts, I hear tell.
You're making fun of me, Mr. Butler. You and your friends.
Oh, I don't know why you should think that. Out here in Dodge, we're all interested in good horse flesh. Especially when it's some sort of a fancy new breed. Quarter horse, you call it, huh?
If you don't mind, I'll be going now.
Oh, no. Not yet, Mr. Thatcher. We'd all like to hear some more about your stock, wouldn't we, boys?
Mr. Butler, my grandson's waiting for me outside.
Hey, Thatcher, tell us again about this little old sawed-off colt of yours. I understand these new type horses you raise have rumps so high they look like they're going downhill.
Hank, it ain't polite to call this colt that way. Besides, it ain't that he's sawed off. It's just that he's got no back. His withers run right into his croup.
He's quarter horse and 3/4 what else?
I guess this is all fun for you, but you got no call.
Oh, now, boys, I do believe Thatcher's upset. Here, let me pour you another drink.
No, thanks. I'll be going.
No, that just ain't sociable. Here, have a drink.
I said no, Mr. Butler.
Drink it.
I'm old enough to be your father, Mr. Butler, and I'll drink when I want and with who I want.
You ornery old goat, I'll pour this whole stinking bottle down your throat.
All right, Butler. That's enough.
Evening, Marshal Dillon.
Mr. Thatcher, your grandson's waiting outside in the buckboard. You better get along home, huh?
Yeah. Thank you, Marshal. Thank you very much.
Old fool. Bragging on the quarter colt he's so proud of. Well, buy a drink, Marshal.
No, thank you.
You just missed the fun. We were having old Thatcher on about his stock.
He's not young anymore, Mr. Butler. But let me warn you about something. Sometime you may push him too far.
Oh, we were just hurrahing him a bit. We didn't do any harm.
Thatcher and his grandson are new out here. You find your fun somewhere else, Butler. Why don't you leave him be?
Matt?
You know, when you torment an old man like that, it makes you cheap. Real cheap.
Matt? Sit down, Matt. You could buy me a drink if you wanted.
Yeah, sure. Sam, send over a drink for Miss Kitty, will you?
I have to drink alone. Usually my partner drinks with me.
Not tonight, Kitty.
You mad about something, Matt?
No. Tired, maybe.
I saw you talking with that Butler over there. He say something to set you off?
Yeah, maybe that's it, Kitty. I don't know. Oh, thanks, Sam. There you are.
That was old man Thatcher over there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Whenever he comes in here, Butler gets him started on this new breed of horse Thatcher's got. Is that what it was tonight?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Happens every time he comes to town, Matt.
He's an old man, Kitty. There's no way he can fight back.
Well, Matt, it's not your worry. You can't keep Butler off his back any more than I can.
They're like vultures circling a buffalo that's hurt, just waiting for the time when he finally goes down so they can settle for a meal.
Matt.
I'm thirsty after all. I think I will have that drink, Kitty. Sam! Chester, if you'd run these papers over to Mr. Hightower.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon. Another wanted poster on Johnny Ringo.
Mr. Hightower's waiting for him, Chester.
Yes, sir, but Johnny Ringo's out in Arizona. He never comes back this way.
Chester?
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon. I'll take him right over. Oh, is there anything for me to do while I'm down at the other end of the plaza?
No, nothing I know of.
Well, then I'll just wait around down at the depot then, Mr. Dillon, if it's all right. The morning train's due in from St. Louis in half hour.
All right, Chester.
Marshal Dillon?
Oh, good morning, Mr. Thatcher.
Got a minute to spare? I have a favor to ask.
Yeah, certainly. Come on in. Mr. Hightower's waiting, Chester.
Yes, sir.
Well, sit down, Mr. Thatcher.
First of all, Marshal, I want to thank you for what you did last night over at the Texas Trail.
Oh, Butler and his crowd just had too much to drink, I saw.
Maybe I did, too. Once I started, it's hard to stop. Then I get to arguing. I'm too old to argue that way.
Well, maybe you shouldn't go to the Texas Trail. Seems every time you do, Butler takes his pleasure riding you.
Well, it's that I wanted to talk to you about.
No? Well, go on.
Well, Ed Butler's always said he's got the best horses around Dodge or anywhere else.
Well, maybe he does, Mr. Thatcher.
Mine are better.
Well, I don't know anything about your stock.
Marshal Dillon, Ed Butler's having breakfast right down the street at the Dodge House. I want you to walk down there with me.
Now, look, Mr. Thatcher, I don't want to mix up in any personal problems between you and Ed.
Well, this ain't completely personal, Marshal. Save maybe in a way. I come to you because I figure you're the one man in Dodge with nothing to gain. And you'll be honest. I got something here. I want you to take it.
No?
It's the deed to my ranch.
Why are you giving it to me?
I want you to hold that deed and come with me to meet Ed Butler. I'm going to challenge him to a grudge race. My quarter coat against the best horse he's got.
You mean you're putting up your ranch on this race?
Yes, sir. And I want you to hold the stakes.
Look, it's no business of mine, but you could lose, you know.
No, sir. I don't figure I can.
Mr. Thatcher, you and your grandson have been over here from Missouri better than a year now. Now, you know how these people are, men such as Butler and the rest. There's nothing more fun than ragging somebody. Somebody who fights back but isn't too strong.
You're trying to lecture me, Marshal.
Well, it's because you're new here that they're making it rough for you. You just don't know the ways yet.
It's no good, Marshal.
Look, Mr. Thatcher, you're putting up everything you got on this race. Now, what makes you so sure you can win? What's so special about this stud colt that you've raised?
He's a little special in most everywhere, Marshal. His daddy was Cold Deck, and his mother was the best mare in Missouri. Oh, I know why Butler and the others laugh at him. Compared to some horses, he looks like a bulldog beside a greyhound. His head's short, and he carries it too low. He's built too close to the ground, with bulging muscles and short legs. But I'll tell you one thing. He's just gone 4, and as he stands now, he's the most horse west of St. Louis. And there are some like him in Texas now. And if I have any say, one day quarter horses will be all over the West. When a man gets to be my age, Marshal Dillon, he's got to stand behind what he believes. And I believe in this little horse. He's sleepy and he's quiet, but he can unwind like lightning.
You got a feel for horses, haven't you, Mr. Thatcher?
It ain't much of a man talks one way and thinks another. Will you walk with me down to the Dodge House?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll walk with you.
I'm going to have some more.
Well, Butler, that's it. And Mr. Thatcher here has asked that I hold the purse.
Couldn't ask for anything more fair than that.
Then you race?
Why, sure I'll race. You name the day and the time, I'll be there.
This afternoon, then, across the river.
Good enough for me.
All right, we'll make it at 2 o'clock. I'll have Doc Adams there to look over the horses. They'll both be sound or there'll be no race. Is that agreed?
That's good.
And they'll run the way they are, shod or not shod. Mr. Thatcher has suggested a distance of 400 yards.
That's right.
400 yards. Hardly worth running, but I'm willing.
All right, since you accept the match, Mr. Butler, you'd best to come to some agreement on the bet with Mr. Thatcher here.
What do you figure your ranch with everything on it's worth, Thatcher?
Oh, maybe $4,000?
That's high for just 500-600 acres, a few outbuildings, and a couple of old milk cows. I'll put 4,000 against your deed. Marshal, I'll give it to Hank here. He'll bring it over to your office.
All right, if you'll have it there by noon.
Hey, how about a side bet for me, Mr. Thatcher?
Well, I don't know.
Hank?
Hey, yeah, Jim, what?
I seen a quarter mare named Bell run down Galveston last July. And I seen Thatcher's colt run a little. I'll take your side bet. Name it.
400.
Double that, it's a bet.
Good enough.
Then it's 800, and I'll bet the quarter colt.
Well, now, Mr. Thatcher. Seems Jim Bales here don't have no more sense than you. Well, at least you're not alone.
All right, then. Everything's settled. Just one last thing, gentlemen. This is going to be a fair race.
Well, no need to worry, Marshal. Ain't no reason to press my luck, not against a jug-headed cayuse like Thatcher.
Why, you know...
All right, that's enough now. Come on, Mr. Thatcher. Let's get out of here, huh? Now, why don't you go on home? I'm going back to the office.
You think I'm just an old fool, don't you?
Yes, Mr. Thatcher, I do. You're headstrong and you're stubborn. But, good luck to you this afternoon.
You know, Matt, there have been horse races in Dodge before, lots of times. But I've never seen one where so many people got concerned. Why, the whole town's in on it. Everybody's betting one way or another.
Yeah, I know. And I don't like it, Doc.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Now, people like an excuse to celebrate. And this afternoon there'll be whiskey running to help them. Whiskey and horses don't mix when there's money changing hands.
Matt, are you worried about Thatcher putting his ranch up on the race?
He could lose his ranch, Doc.
Oh, no. Well, doesn't he have a chance?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, what is it, Chester?
Oh, hello, Doc.
Well, Chester.
Say, I was down at the bridge a few minutes back watching for Butler to take his horse across. I wanted to know which one he was running.
Well?
And I didn't recognize the horse. I thought probably it'd be his sorrel, but it wasn't. It was a horse I ain't never seen before.
What horse is it, Chester?
Ed Butler ain't putting in no cow pony, Mr. Dillon. He's running a thoroughbred.
Well,
he's got no chance at all now. Is that it, man?
Mr. Thatcher's betting everything he has on this quarter horse of his to beat a cow pony. Now Butler's running a pure racing horse, a thoroughbred. Well, it's past 1. Let's get over to the other side of the river.
We'll return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, Tuesday nights you have 2 dates for thrilling mystery on CBS Radio. One's with Pam and Jerry North. The other's with yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Remember, next Tuesday and every Tuesday on most of these same stations, enjoy John Lund as yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and Mr. and Mrs. North, both presented by CBS Radio. Now the second act of Gunsmoke.
Looks like half a Dodge is over here, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, maybe more than that. Chester, see if you can find Ed Butler and old man Thatcher and bring him over here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Kitty.
I haven't seen this many people in one spot since last year when Eddie Foy played the Opera House. It's kind of a fiesta, isn't it?
Yeah, in a way.
Nobody'd think it to look at you. Where's the finish line going to be, Matt? I want to see good.
Back up there about 50 yards.
Oh, well, I'll go up and find me a place.
Yeah, okay.
Matt! Well, Matt.
Yeah, Doc.
Oh, here you are. Well, I've looked over both horses. They seem sound enough.
Good.
I don't get much call to check horses anymore. Mostly it's babies these days. Or maybe a gunshot wound.
Doc, who's going to ride for Butler and Thatcher, you know?
Butler's got Hank Thomas, and I think Thatcher's a grandson's going to ride for him.
Well, I hope the boy knows what he's doing.
I think he does, Matt. He's got spurs and a switch.
Well, that'll help.
See, Matt, Thatcher's getting all liquored up.
Well, that's his affair, isn't it, Doc?
Yeah, but he's got a skin full. You know how edgy he gets when he's that way?
I sent Chester for him. He should be along any
The
minute.
whole crowd seems kind of excited and nervy. Maybe I'll pick up some business out there, huh?
That's not funny, Doc.
I'm sorry, Matt.
Mr. Dillon, I found Mr. Butler, but I
Afternoon,
couldn't...
Marshal.
Where's Thatcher?
Oh, I wouldn't know. Last time I saw him, he was pouring down some red-eye. Preparing for the loss, maybe.
Well, Mr. Hightower and Doc here are going to act as judges along with me. Chester will fire the starting gun.
It's all terrible fancy for just a whim of that old fool Thatcher's, ain't it?
You may call me an old fool now, Butler, but it'll be different after the race.
You're drunk, Thatcher.
Any law say a man can't win a horse race if he's drunk?
Oh, what's the matter? Need courage to bring your horse out here to the flat?
All right, stay out of it, Butler. Mr. Thatcher's your grandson all set?
Yes, sir, Marshal.
How about you, Butler?
We're ready.
All right, then tell your riders to take their horses down to those 2 buckboards down there. That'll be the starting line.
You thought you'd fool me, didn't you, Butler? Bringing out that thoroughbred to run. Well, I don't care. I can still beat you.
You're talking an awful lot for a man who ain't worried.
Don't ride me, Butler. I've had enough.
Oh, listen to me, Thatcher. I put up with your chatter long enough.
Why you...
All right, that's enough.
You just see to it you win, Thatcher. I'll have your ranch and that colt you think so much of.
Oh, what did you say?
You heard me. Just make sure you win, if you can.
What did you say about my colt? What did you mean?
Well, if my bay mare wins, I get your ranch and everything on it. That includes your colt.
No, that isn't right.
Well, what about it, Marshal? You're holding the purse and drawing up all the rules, it seems. What about it?
Butler's right, Mr. Thatcher. That's the way you made the bet.
You're no good, Butler. No good at all.
I didn't make the bet.
All right, both of you move your horses down to the starting line. It's 2 o'clock.
Hank, move that bay down those markers.
Well, go on down, Mr. Thatcher.
Yes, sir, yes.
Chester, you walk with him. Give him 5 minutes, and then you can start him off.
5 minutes. Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Well, I was right. Wasn't I, Matt? Thatcher's been drinking some.
Yeah. Come on, Doc. We'll look up Mr. Hightower.
All right. You know, Matt, this is like a holiday. It's like a fiesta.
Yeah, that's what Kitty said.
Ooh, she's out here, too, huh? Yeah, well, I guess maybe outside of Mr. Thatcher, the only person not enjoying himself is you.
Do I have to enjoy it, Doc?
I'm sorry, Matt. What's up?
Come on, Doc, run!
Wait a minute. Wait.
Mr. Dillon, it's Mr. Thatcher. He's been shot.
Shot? Where is he, Chester?
Right over there, laying on the ground. His boy's with him.
All right. Let me through. I'm the doctor. Let me through here. Oh, here now, just a minute.
No. It's not much use looking, Doc. I know where it is.
He's bad, Matt.
What happened, Mr. Thatcher?
And now I won't see him run.
Mr. Thatcher, listen to me.
Now I'll never know for sure if my colt could...
What happened, Chester? You were with him?
Mr. Dillon, I don't know. I was walking along, not thinking anything particular. Thatcher and Butler was up ahead, and then Thatcher drew on Butler, tried to shoot him.
I shot him, if that's what you want to know, Marshal.
It was self-defense, Marshal.
That's what it was, Mr. Dillon. But still,
He was drunk.
man.
You saw that for yourself. And he tried to kill me.
That's right, Marshal. What Ed says is right.
That's the way it happened, Mr. Dillon.
Suppose now that forfeits the race, don't it, Marshal?
Doc, will you take care of... get him into a wagon and back into town. I'll see you back there.
Oh, sure, man. Now, you men, will you give me a hand here now?
Well, what about that forfeit, Marshal?
You just can't wait till a man's cold before you want his property, can you?
Oh, it ain't that, Dillon.
The race ain't forfeit. I'll run it.
That's the Thatcher boy, Mr. Dillon.
Come here, son. What's your name?
I'm Lonnie Thatcher. I'm gonna ride Granddaddy's colt.
Well, now look, maybe...
I'm kin. Granddaddy was queer, kinda, but what he said about this colt is right. And I'm riding him in the race.
Yeah, but with what's happened, Lonnie, maybe we should put the race off. We'll run it, sure, but not today, not now.
I'll agree to put it off.
Granddaddy'd like it best this way. We'll race.
Gracious. There ain't a tear in his eye, Mr. Dillon.
All right, if that's the way you want it.
It's what I want.
All right, then get on down to the starting line, both of you. Go on, Chester.
Yes, sir.
I was looking for you, Marshal. Are we going to have the race?
Yeah.
That's a good thing, you know. There'd be a lot of people disappointed if it didn't come off.
And we wouldn't want that, would we, Mr. Hightower?
How's that?
The killing's hardly enough to make the day complete, is it?
No, Marshal, I didn't mean anything wrong. It's just...
Yeah, sure. Just forget it. Move on up to the finish line. I'll get a couple of these riders to clear the lane.
All right, Mr. Dillon.
You there. Would you ride down toward the start and make everybody move back and clear a lane, huh? All right, everybody. Well, will you get back, please? Oh, would you clear the lane, please?
Please move back. All you people there. Move back. That's it. Well, it's time, Marshal.
Yeah.
What's Chester waiting for?
It looks like the colt's acting up.
I've never seen two different breed of horses run against each other.
And that colt's kicking up a storm.
Could make a good column for the paper, maybe.
Come on. Get a hold of him, kid.
Don't you think it'd make a good column, Marshal?
Hey, here they go, Matt. Look at that boy ride, Matt.
Come on, kid. Come on, kid.
You see that, Matt? Oh, that boy, did he ever?
I guess there was no question about it, Matt.
Yeah, it was the colt by half a length.
A quarter horse beat a thoroughbred. Now, that is something to see. And it's a new kind of horse in these parts.
Well, Marshal, you should be happy.
Because the boy won? And for that, I am happy, yeah.
Well, I got no complaint, Marshal. It was fair and square.
If you gentlemen will excuse me, I want to get back to the office.
Sure, Mr. Hightower.
Marshal.
Yeah?
Look, Marshal, about what happened this afternoon. About Thatcher. I didn't really hold anything against the old man. I'm sorry it happened.
I told you sometime you'd push him too far. Now he's dead.
Well, after all, Marshal, he drew first.
Oh, I'm not saying you're a murderer, Butler. But you're small inside. The only feeling I got for you is contempt. You're responsible for the death of that man today, and yet there's nothing I can do about it.
You're blaming me for everything?
It's not you. I guess it's just people. Good day, Mr. Butler.
Matt, I was looking for you.
Where's Lonnie Thatcher, Kitty?
Standing over there by his horse, crying. Maybe you ought to talk to him, Matt.
I'm going to.
Well, he doesn't want to see anybody. Some of us tried talking to him, and he just walked away.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Hey, boy, you better walk that horse. Any horseman who knows he shouldn't be standing around after running like that.
Yes, sir.
All right. I got $4,000 for you, Lonnie. You want to take it, or shall I give it to Banker Hodgson?
I'll take it.
It might be better to leave it in the bank.
I said I'll take it.
All right, son. Here.
Thank you, Marshal Dillon.
Lonnie, you got any plans?
Yes, sir.
What?
I'm gonna do what my granddaddy always wanted to do. I'm gonna raise horses like this stud colt. I'm gonna breed them.
Where are you gonna do this? At your granddaddy's place?
Yes, sir.
That's a big spread for a boy to handle alone.
I'll manage.
How old are you, Lonnie?
I got $4,000 to help me. And I'm old enough to know my mind.
Yeah, I guess you are.
And you know something else, Marshal? I understand these quarter horses, just like my granddaddy did. When men in these parts get sense enough to be interested in new stock and want good mounts with a fine way of going, they can come and buy them from me, Lonnie Thatcher.
Yeah. And if I'm any judge, that may not take too long, Lonnie.
Thanks, Marshal Dillon.
The boy's eyes were glistening as he turned and walked away, leading his stud colt home. Most of the crowd had left. They'd gone back into Dodge to rerun the race over a drink or two and talk about this new kind of horse, this stocky, heavy-muscled, quick as lightning quarter horse that had come to Dodge. And now it was getting darker because of some clouds building up over in the northwest. And when I looked again, the boy and his horse had almost vanished from sight.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. The special music is composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Lawrence Dobkin and Joe Carnes, with Johnny McGovern, Harry Bartell, and Luke Krugman. Harley Bear is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Gunsmoke is heard by our troops overseas through the facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Tomorrow night, that great thespian Jack Benny attempts to show Tyrone Power how it should have been done, playing the Power role in his own version of the movie Mississippi Gambler. Also tomorrow night, don't miss the latest laughs with Eve Arden as our Miss Brooks of Merry Madcap Madison High. George Walsh speaking. And remember, Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy open fire on your funny bones Sunday nights on the CBS Radio Network.
So many of you are like me and just enjoy hearing episodes of Gunsmoke. And, yeah, I know we did 2 of them within like a 3-day period here. But they're always good to hear. William Conrad in the real Gunsmoke. 72 years ago, March 28, 1953. And I don't think that Gunsmoke would have been as successful had it not been for the authentic cast that you heard on radio. Coming up next here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Murder at Midnight.
Friends, this is Bob Hope. If an atom bomb were to hit your home city, would you know what to do? Remember, one explosion of an atom bomb could kill 75,000 and maim 100,000. This is only one kind of a disaster which could strike. In addition to many forms of enemy action, there are the dangers of fire, flood, earthquake, and traffic. Knowing what to do before, during, and after a disaster can improve your chances of survival. There is something you can do and do now. You can learn a pattern of survival. Your local Office of Civil Defense is ready to help. Persuade your club, your church, your friends, and your neighbors to help to learn to live. Remember, this is the atomic age. No one can escape its hazards, but everyone can prepare. Listen carefully. What you are about to hear can save your life. Do you know the siren signal in case of atomic attack? Do you know how to find shelter? Do you know how to give first aid? Do you know what will be done for your safety? For further details, consult your local Office of Civil Defense.
Murder at Midnight was a show that came out of New York City. It was syndicated beginning in 1946, directed by Antoine M. Leader and the producer Louis G. Cohen. The host was Raymond Morgan, delivered the lines of introduction over Charles Paul's organ theme, and we will hear that opening here in a moment. 50 episodes produced, some of them syndicated and rerun on Mutual in 1950. This goes back, though, to the original run from 78 years ago, March 28, 1947, Wherever I Go.
Murder at midnight.
That gun won't do you any good. Besides, you're pointing it the wrong way.
I'm pointing it right between your eyes.
That's what I mean.
Midnight. The witching hour when the night is darkest. Our fears the strongest. And our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight. When the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in Wherever I Go. And now, Murder at Midnight. Tales of mystery and terror by Masters of the Macabre. Our story, A Study in Crime and Retribution, is by William Morwood. Its title, Wherever I Go. The music room of an old country mansion. Seated at the piano, playing with the skill of an accomplished musician, is Gordon Ormsby. Engrossed in what he is doing, he is not aware his wife, Ellen, has come in until...
For goodness sakes, Gordon, when are you going to stop that pounding?
What? Well, I thought you enjoyed music, my dear.
I do when it's well played. Oh, don't be childish. You might have a little consideration for my headache.
You and your headaches. There's nothing whatever wrong with you. The doctors have as good as told you that. It's all in your mind. The affectation of a silly rich woman.
Lucky for you, I am rich. Or where would you be now?
Someplace where I'd amount to something. I had talents when I married you, Ellen. I could have been a great musician or a great painter or writer.
You were what you are now, what you always will be. A dilettante, a dabbler.
It's your money that ruined me, softened me up, robbed me of my ambition.
If you hate my money so much, there's nothing to prevent you walking out on it.
I will. Someday.
Not if I know you. You'll stick around as long as I have a penny left. Oh, my head.
Oh, you poor, poor darling.
Oh, I don't expect sympathy from you, but, when I feel like this, I could kill myself.
That would be too much to hope for.
Wouldn't it be nice for you, Gordon? Little me out of the way, and all my wicked money to spend exactly as you pleased. But don't worry. I'll live to a ripe old age, just to spite you.
I'd never thought of it before. Her dying. Never. But after that, I couldn't get it out of my head. There was so much I could do with her money. I could go abroad, study. But first, I had to get rid of her. It was dangerous even to think about, but I conceived a plan and developed it carefully, slowly, step by step. Ellen, we've got rats in the cellar. I saw signs of them today.
How awful. We must do something about it.
Ellen, have you done anything about those rats?
I ordered some stuff from the drugstore.
Well, there's only one thing that's any good, and you'll have to get a prescription for that. Arsenic. Let's eat home on Thursday, Ellen.
Oh, but it's a servants' night out, and we always go to a restaurant.
I know, but I want to try my hand at cooking up something.
Well, it's sure to be poison, but... All right.
We ate dinner at home on Thursday, the two of us alone together. Afterwards, Ellen complained of a headache and went up to her room. I followed a little later.
This is a surprise.
I brought you a cup of cocoa, my dear, to help put you to sleep.
That's suspiciously thoughtful of you, Gordon.
I'm afraid it's still too hot to drink. I'll put it down here.
What have you done to your hand?
What?
It's all bandaged up.
Oh, I scalded it in the kitchen. It's a nuisance, too. I wanted to write tonight.
What are you working on now, Shakespeare? Your memoirs?
No, dear. I don't expect to die for a while yet. No, it's a story about a girl suffering from an incurable disease who commits suicide.
Sounds morbid to me.
Oh, but it's not. I'm making it very tender and beautiful. As a matter of fact, I did mean to write the death scene tonight. With this hand, I'm... Say, Ellen, would you help me out?
How?
Well, I've got the girl's suicide note all set in my mind. I can't write with this. Would you write it down while I dictate it?
Oh, do it yourself tomorrow.
Oh, please. It'll only take a minute. Please.
Oh, all right. Where's some paper?
Here.
But that's my very best stationery. I hate to waste it.
It won't be wasted. Ready?
Yes.
Here goes. It's, I can't stand the pain any longer. Nobody knows how much I've suffered. Death will be peaceful compared to this.
Wait a minute.
What? What's wrong?
You're going too fast.
Oh.
Death will be... What?
Peaceful compared to this. Forgive me for what I'm doing, but this is the only way out. Signed,
Yes?
Ellen.
What?
I named her that, dear, because she reminded me of you, so noble in her suffering. I thought you'd be pleased.
Well, I'm not. You'll have to think of some other name.
All right. Jane.
Jane?
You remember Jane Turner, the girl I was going with when I met you? I don't think she'd mind.
But I would. There. It's signed Ellen.
Thank you, my dear. You don't know how much this means to me.
Oh, my head's splitting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Some cocoa? Drink it. That should end your headache. Drink it, Ellen.
Tastes queer.
Well, I couldn't find the sugar, so I sweetened it with maple syrup.
Well, I don't suppose it'll kill me.
Drink it all. Drink it all.
There. Oh.
What's the matter?
Oh, the pain. Gordon, do something. Why are you...
It won't be long now, Ellen.
You mean
that arsenic you bought for the rats.
You're mad. They'll hang you for this.
No, Ellen. Oh, no. You have left a note behind. It's a clear case of suicide. I was shaking all over, yet my nerves had to be steady for what lay ahead of me. My own life depended on it. Music, that would relax me. The piano. I raced downstairs for the music room, but before I reached it, I heard the playing. I pushed open the door. A man was sitting there. A man I'd never seen before, but who was somehow vaguely familiar.
Hello.
Who are you?
Don't you know?
Well, of course not. What are you doing here?
There was nobody at the piano. I didn't think you'd mind.
Well, I do mind. How'd you get in? The door's locked.
Is it? I didn't notice.
Breaking and entering, huh? I've got a good mind to call the
I'm
police.
sorry you're so suspicious. Still, I realize the strain you must be under.
What do you mean by that?
I'm afraid I'm interrupting you in business vital to both of us. I'll call again some other time.
No, wait. You can't leave like this. At least tell me your name.
I have many different names. When the time comes, you can call me by any one of them. Goodbye.
I put the stranger out of my mind. Too much depended on the telephone call I had to make. A single slip-up now, and a rope was waiting for me. I dialed with shaking fingers. Dr. Sampson, this is Gordon Ormsby. You must come at once. Ellen is dead. I think she's taken poison. It worked out, just as I'd planned, just as I'd hoped it would. The doctor's visit, the police, the inquest, no false moves, no suspicions. I became the sole inheritor of a large estate and a free man. I moved out of the old house and into a hotel suite in town. I don't know when it started to happen, but I first knew that something was wrong when my fingers would no longer obey me at the piano. Nothing would come. Or rather, nothing but discords. I decided that my nerves were overstrained, that I needed a rest. I figured a trip somewhere would do me good. I went to the telephone to order my car brought around first thing in the morning, but before I picked up the receiver... Yes?
I'm going with you, Gordon.
Who is this?
Your friend.
I'll
see you first thing in the morning.
But...
Number, please.
Operator, you cut me off. I was making a very important call.
There must be some mistake, sir. There was no call on your line.
I didn't wait. I couldn't. I packed that evening. I slipped a gun into my pocket. I left the hotel. By 11 o'clock, I was far out in the open country, driving west. The night was pitch black, and every mile I burrowed further into the darkness. And then suddenly, a terrible conviction came over me. I knew I wasn't alone.
I'm coming up front now, Gordon.
You?
I said I was coming with you.
When did you get in this car?
I've been here right along. You drive well, Gordon. A cool head and a steady hand. But then you had to have them, didn't you?
What does that mean?
I was just thinking out loud. The money's nice, but music means a lot, too, doesn't it? A pity that went sour on you.
Look, I don't know who you are or what you're talking about.
And yet you proved a point to Ellen. You proved that you were an artist in a way, even though she couldn't live to appreciate it. Her death was your masterpiece.
The sweat stood out on my forehead. My mouth was dry. I didn't want it this way. One murder was enough to haunt me, but he left me with no alternative. He knew too much. Somewhere along that road, when the night was darkest, I knew I had to kill the stranger.
Yes, the mysterious stranger seems to know a great deal. Is it possible he knows even more than Gordon suspects about his plan for...
Murder at midnight.
And now here is Gordon Ormsby to continue our story.
I knew what I was looking for. A lonely stretch of road with no sign of life. At last the headlights found it. A valley with trees growing down to the edge of the road. The stranger seemed asleep, but he stirred as I jammed on the brakes.
Hey, what's wrong, Gordon?
Must have a flat. The wheel feels funny. Would you mind having a look?
That would be very unwise for me.
Why?
You have a gun in your pocket. I would make a perfect target out in the headlights.
Well, since you're so suspicious. Here, take it.
You amuse me, Gordon. However,
how do they look?
all right on this side.
I'm sure it's one of the front tires.
I'll see the other side.
I got him. He was standing squarely in front of the radiator when I got him. Just to make sure, I backed the car over his body. I dragged him across the ditch and into the woods. I dug a shallow grave with a tire iron, hacking in among the roots and the rocks. And then I covered him over. I got back into the car. I needed a drink. And when I came to a juke joint along the highway, I stopped.
What's yours, mister?
Scotch, straight.
You been driving hard, mister?
Why?
You look all in.
Give me another shot. No, wait. Look, I'll buy the bottle.
I don't always want to sell. You know, scotch is hard to get around here.
I'll pay for it. I took the bottle over to a booth and began putting it away. I felt better, warm inside. It was going to be all right after all. The stranger was dead, and they'd never find his body. I was in the clear with nothing to worry about.
Help a poor blind man. Help a blind man.
There was something about that blind man's stick that got on my nerves. He came up to my table.
Help the old blind man, please.
Get away from here.
Please, sir, if you'd be so kind.
Will you get away?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I don't want any favors from anyone.
I said beat it.
I'm going, but you shouldn't have done that.
What's going on here? What's the idea of shoving Nettie?
He was annoying me. Then I saw him. He had the blind man by the elbow and was leading him toward the door. The stranger.
What's the matter with you, mister? What are you staring at?
There. Don't you see him?
Oh, blind Ned? Well, sure.
No. The man with him, opening the door.
There's nobody with him. Blind Ned don't need nobody. He's been going in and out of here by himself for years.
But it was he. I knew it was. I'd killed him, buried him, and, well, was he dead or wasn't he? I had to know. I drove back up the road. There were the trees and the broken weeds in the ditch through which I'd dragged the body. I walked carefully among the leaves, searching for the grave.
Hello there. What you doing?
Oh, who are you?
State trooper. Saw your car parked on the road, followed you in.
Well, I'm looking for my watch. I lost it here this afternoon at a picnic. I didn't realize it until I got home, so of course I turned around.
Sure. I'll help you.
Oh, no, please don't bother.
No bother. I got a flashlight here.
Well, it's awfully nice of you, but I don't think...
Hey, what's this?
What? Where?
Ground's all scraped up into a... Looks like a grave.
Oh, well, what would a grave be doing here?
That's what I'd like to know. Give me a hand, will you? Fresh dirt and rocks digs easy.
Well,
What's the matter? Scared?
Oh, no. It's just that...
down to the bottom anyhow. Oh. Well, I'll be...
What is it?
It's a grave, all right. But if there was ever a body in it, it's gone now.
I had only one idea after that. To get away. To get away as far away as possible. I drove like a wild man the rest of the night and all next day, stopping only for gas. Finally, I just couldn't drive any farther. I stopped at a small hotel and went up to the desk to register.
Sign here, please.
I'm driving across country and I've got to start first thing in the morning.
Certainly, Mr.
Ormsby.
Ormsby, okay. What time would you like to be called?
At daylight. And another thing, I don't want to be disturbed under any circumstances.
Yes,
that's important. No matter who wants to see me, on what excuse, I don't want to be disturbed.
I understand, Mr. Ormsby. Now, if you follow the porter...
The elevator doors were just closing when I saw him. He'd come in from the street and was walking across the lobby to the desk. I reached my room, dismissed the bellhop, and locked the door. With a shaking hand, I picked up the telephone.
Yes, clerk?
This is Mr. Ormsby. I thought I recognized a friend of mine in the lobby. A man about the same height and build as myself, dressed in a gray suit.
I'm afraid...
Well, he came in right after me. I haven't seen him in some time, and well, I've forgotten his name. Would you mind looking in the register and telling me what it is?
Just a minute now, look. Here we are. Your signature, Mr. Ormsby, and then...
Yes?
I'm sorry, sir. There is something, but the name's blotted. I can't make it out.
I knew now there was no escape. I took the money from my billfold and piled it on the table. I examined my revolver to make sure it was loaded, and then I sat and waited. A few minutes before midnight, the knock came. Come in.
Hello. You act as if you were expecting me.
I was. The only thing I'm not sure about is what you want. Or rather, how much.
You should know.
All the cash I've got's on the table. Nearly $500.
Helen left you a good deal more than that.
All right, I'll write you out a check. Name the amount.
Everything you possess.
What? You're crazy. Do you honestly think, after the risks I took, the risks I'm still taking, I'd give everything away to a cheap blackmailer?
Murder is an expensive hobby, Gordon.
Well, not that expensive. If you want to be reasonable, say $50,000.
I'm afraid there's no compromise. And I'm not just talking about money.
Listen, this is your last chance. $50,000 or...
Or what, Gordon?
Or you don't leave this room alive.
You tried to kill me once before. Remember?
I lost my head. The car only stunned you, and I didn't make sure that you were dead. It'll be different this time.
It's always going to be different, isn't it, Gordon? When you disposed of Ellen, you were going to lead such a rich, beautiful life.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened to it? Your music went. You couldn't play.
You shut up.
And then your heart went. You struck out at an old blind man.
Listen, you...
There isn't very much left now, except your mind. And that's starting to go, too. Sometimes you see me, sometimes you don't.
I see you now. Large as life. But do you see this?
That gun won't do you any good. Besides, you're pointing it the wrong way.
I'm pointing it right between your eyes.
That's what I mean.
Well, you... He was gone. Yes, gone. Nowhere in the room. Then I heard the rapping at the door. In a daze, mechanically, I opened it.
Anything wrong, mister?
What? Who are you?
The house detective. I thought I heard...
Oh, you must have seen him. He must have run past you in the corridor.
Who?
The stranger, the man who was in my room.
Why did... Hey, be careful of that gun.
Well, I had to shoot him. He was threatening me. He was standing over there when I let him have it.
Oh, yeah? What did he look like?
He was about my height and build, wearing a gray suit.
Like the one you're wearing?
Huh? Oh. Oh, yes.
I thought so. Look.
At what?
The mirror. You shot at your own reflection.
You mean...
Now do you know who I am, Gordon?
There, didn't you hear him?
Hear what? What are you talking about?
No. No, you wouldn't hear. Only I would. And now I do know who and what he is. I know why I couldn't escape him. Here. Here, take this gun. I want to give myself up.
Give yourself up?
My name is Gordon Ormsby. I killed my wife. I poisoned her. I made it look like suicide, and there never was any trial.
Oh, I get it. Sure,
It was a perfect crime. At least I thought it was a perfect crime until he came into the picture.
Now, don't you worry about it one bit, Mr. Ormsby. You just
Wait a
come
minute.
along with
Wait
me.
a minute. You think I'm making it up. That I'm crazy, don't you?
No.
You do think so. But it's true. Every word of it.
Sure, I got a good friend who's a doctor. You tell him all
Doctor?
about...
No. No, he won't believe me either. Nobody will believe me. They'll all think that I'm mad. And, oh, don't you see? That's why I have to give myself up. Because that's the only way I can get away from him. If you hang me, But if you don't...
They won't, Gordon. They'll put you away. And wherever you go, I'll be there too. Remember that? Wherever you go.
Taking him firmly by the arm, the detective leads the struggling Gordon out into the corridor. A corridor that grows darker and darker until it is completely black. Somewhere in that blackness, a voice is whispering, and it continues to whisper until it is drowned by a clock striking 12 for
Murder at midnight.
Remember to be with us again when death whispers softly in the night and the clocks strike 12 for
Murder at midnight.
The part of Gordon Ormsby was played by Barry Kroger. With music by Charles Paul, Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
The star Barry Kroger got his start on Suspense as an actor, playing for a time on The Falcon and on Big Sister, and was a regular on Young Dr. Malone. He also did Broadway work and was a standout in many of the productions that you would see done not only on Broadway, but also in the New York City repertory theater that you would hear. He would eventually move to Hollywood, and he didn't get the respect he deserved there. Did stuff like the 1966 Chamber of Horrors, the incredible Two-Headed Transplant in 1971, and he was in the movie Young Frankenstein in 1974 as a village elder. And he guest starred on 7 episodes of Perry Mason. He was also in The Rifleman, Hawaiian Eye, Get Smart as an actor spoofing Sidney Greenstreet, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. His last big film role in 1977's The Demon Seed. He passed away in 1991 at the age of 78, Barry Kroger in Murder at Midnight. Coming up next here, tomorrow. Let's talk about tomorrow's show, why don't we? We're going to have another extravaganza of crime and mystery with episodes of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Jimmy Carter matter from 1959, Dragnet and the Big Dream from 1953, The Mysterious Traveler from 1949, Death Has Cold Breath. Also, Big Town, starring William Polly from 1949, and an episode of a little-known program called Yankee Yarns, tales from, I guess, the New England states. That'll be coming up on our Saturday Classic Radio Theater. On Sunday, Luke Slaughter of Tombstone, also Frontier Gentleman, and yours truly, Johnny Dollar, all 3 from 1958. Then an episode of Lights Out from 1938, and we'll find out more about where Lum and Cedric have been in a Lum and Abner show. And then Monday, we'll get started back to some humor. How about Lucille Ball and My Favorite Husband from 1949, The Aldrich Family, with an April, and this Monday's April Fool's Day, so we got a lot of April Fool's shows. My Favorite Husband, Lucille Ball, Richard Denning, The Aldrich Family, Mel Blanc, Life with Luigi, and believe it or not, a Jack Benny episode, just a snippet of a show from 1934. And you know, we seldom have Jack Benny shows going back that far. That's, 91 years ago. So the quality's not the greatest, but at least you'll hear some original Benny. And then on Tuesday, Fibber McGee and Molly, Willard Waterman as the Great Gildersleeve, Charlie McCarthy, Orson Welles, and Jane Powell, George and Gracie, and another episode of Lum and Abner. And then the Screen Directors Playhouse production of Ghost Breakers, starring Bob Hope. Also, The Joan Davis Show, another episode of Gunsmoke, and an episode of Have Gun Will Travel. That'll all be coming up on our next week's worth of Classic Radio Theater podcasts here. Coming up next, we'll have more criminal adventure with Philo Vance.
This is basic civil defense information from the Department of Defense, Office of Civil Defense, Washington. If our nation ever comes under nuclear attack and you take shelter to protect yourself from radioactive fallout, water is the key emergency supply. Each person will need at least a quart a day, and if there's not enough water stored in your shelter, here are additional places to find it, especially if you plan to use a home shelter where you'll be on your own. Local authorities may instruct you to turn off the main water valve. When you do this, the pipes inside the house will still be full of water. Next, turn on the faucet located at the highest point in your house to let air into the system. Then use water from the faucet located at the lowest point in your house. You can also use water in your hot water heater, in the flush tanks, or water in ice cube trays, milk, soft drinks, canned juices. If necessary, you can even drink water that's been exposed to fallout. However, very young children should be given non-contaminated liquids when available. For more information, consult your local civil defense office.
Quick note to thank so many of you for your fine comments about the show. We always appreciate them. And you please share the shows to your friends through social media, however you want to do it. You can get our Facebook and X feeds over at classicradio.stream. And we appreciate you sharing them. It's always nice. And if you'd like to make throw a couple of bucks our way, you can do that by buying something off classicradio.stream. Or you can also, buy me a coffee, or whatever, however you'd like to support us, we appreciate it. We're going to go back 75 years, March 28, 1950. Jackson Beck was an announcer on The Adventures of Superman. He was the voice of Bluto in the early Popeye theatrical shorts and did lots of radio work. We've heard him do a lot of good stuff. And he was also on The March of Time. He was the Cisco Kid on radio from 1942 to 1945. He was narrator for Tom Corbett's Space Cadet. And he also was in several episodes of the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. And he was also Perry White, coming back to Clark Kent, in the New Adventures of Superman animated series, and the narrator as well. He also did some film work, but this is probably where you know him best, and that is as Jackson Beck as Philo Vance, the famed detective. 75 years ago, March 28, 1950, this is the Ivory Murder Case.
Well, Tom, might as well rest here for a little bit. No sense in trying to make it all the way back to camp tonight.
Yeah, whatever you say, Joe. It's a funny thing about fate, isn't it?
How do you mean?
We woke up this morning, a couple of guys without any money. We go to sleep tonight, millionaires.
That ivory we found?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's at least $2 million in it.
We had to get paid for coming all the way to Africa, didn't we?
Well, not that well. Wish those natives would stop with those tom-toms, the chanting. Wonder what they mean.
All I hope is that they mean everything is okay. Yes, Tonto, what is it?
Excuse please, Mr. Hillary, Mr. Tom Duncan.
What is it, Tonto?
Natives, tell me, ask you a question.
Well?
All right, for Tonto to ask question.
Go ahead.
Natives say, please to leave ivory here where you find it. Say, it belong here.
Oh, they do, eh? You go back and tell them that the ivory belongs to whoever finds it. And we found it. Tell them to cut out those tom-toms.
Please, Mr. Hillary, but tom-toms mean what they tell me to ask you to leave ivory here.
Tell them to cut it out.
Tondo, tell them. Only Tondo not sure other natives listen to him.
Well, that's that.
Natives are superstitious. What natives aren't?
Let's skip them for now. Let's talk about you and me.
What about us?
Well, just in case there's any doubt in your mind, Joe, let's understand this. I don't trust you too much.
It's nice to know.
We've got the ivory. We'll bring it back and you'll sell it through your company. What do you intend to do about paying me off?
Oh, I've thought about that, Tom.
Well, that's nice of you. You know what I'm entitled to, don't you?
I certainly do. And I've just decided what you're going to get.
Well, suppose you tell me.
Sure. I'll do better than that.
No. No, don't. No!
You wanted to know what I was going to do about paying you off? You found out, Tom. The hard way. Take a letter to D. Amster and Son, Bolton Building. You got that, Miss Ben?
Yes, Mr. Hillary.
Gentlemen, I've just returned from Africa with a quantity of ivory, which I believe you will be interested.
Mm-hmm.
Quality's excellent. Samples are available immediately for your inspection. You will let me know when it will be convenient for you. Come in. Hondo.
Excuse, please, Mr. Hillary.
Hondo. What are you doing in this country?
I come take back ivory, Mr. Hillary. Ivory belong in my country.
Get out of here. That ivory belongs to me. Now, get out.
Ivory found by you and Mr. Tom Duncan, Mr. Hillary. Mr. Tom Duncan no come back with you. Tondo know what happened to Mr. Tom Duncan.
Get out of here, I'll... Why, you...
Tondo sorry he throw knife into desk. Tondo only want to show it good thing if ivory return. Very good thing for natives and for Mr. Hillary.
Please sit down, Mrs. Duncan. District
Thank
Attorney Markham should be here at any moment now.
Oh, you, have spoken to him, Mr. Vance?
Yes, right after you called me and said you'd be down here at my office. Markham said he'd be here, and I'm sure he will.
Now that I've seen you, I'm not sure I want him here.
Well, that's very flattering.
I do better with a little encouragement.
Let me understand something.
Mm-hmm.
You did want me to investigate your husband's death. That's true, isn't it?
Oh, it can wait. After...
Sorry I'm late. Hello, Vance.
Oh, hello, Markham. Markham, this is Mrs. Tom Duncan. Her husband disappeared mysteriously while in Africa on an ivory hunt.
Uh-huh.
She thinks some investigating ought to be done.
How do you do, Mrs. Duncan?
At the moment, with two very attractive men, it seems as if I'm doing pretty well.
Suppose we get down to facts, Mrs. Duncan.
I suppose that might be an idea. Mr. Markham.
Yes?
As Vance told you, my husband was on an ivory hunting expedition in Africa. He didn't return. He went with a man named Joe Hillary, and Hillary claims Tom disappeared in the jungle and couldn't be found.
Hillary's back in this country?
Yes.
I'll talk to him, Mrs. Duncan. But it seems to me that you've accepted rather casually the fact that your husband is dead.
You're, very observing.
In view of that, Mrs. Duncan, why are you so interested in finding out who might have killed him, conceding that he was killed, as you obviously imagine?
You want to know why I want to know who killed my husband?
Yes.
Well, Joe Hillary brought back a fortune in ivory. I think half of that ivory belongs to me. And I'm the kind of a person who doesn't get what I deserve. Only what I want.
Sorry you had to come out of the house to take the rest of those letters, Donna. I'm equally sorry you have to work on your day off.
It's all right, Joe. I've been here before. Remember?
Let's forget all that for now, please. When you get out of my workshop here in the basement, I'll give you a sample of that ivory I want you to mail.
Want me to go up and type the letters you gave me?
Yeah. I had very much help yesterday after that native Tondo came to my office.
Who could work after that? I'm not over it yet.
Sorry about your nerves. Well, here we are.
Here we are in your little fortress. I could never do any work in a place like this.
Why? Because there are no windows? The place is small?
Mm-hmm.
It's air-conditioned. When I lock myself in, I think better, plan better. Come, take a look inside while I get the sample for you.
I've seen the inside. You've got so much junk in it, there's hardly room to sit down. Tools and nails and springs and vices and... Oh, what's the use? Give me the ivory and I'll get on with my work.
There you are. Here's the sample. Want to come in a minute?
No, thank you.
Very well. See you later. So long.
Oh, for heaven's sake. What are you doing, Joe? Putting a bar across the door?
Certainly. I don't want to be disturbed, Donna. I really don't want to be disturbed.
Wouldn't it be funny, Joe, if you were disturbed despite anything you might do to protect yourself?
But I don't understand, Mr. Vance. You indicated when I was in your office that you would work on my husband's disappearance.
Yes, I did, Mrs. Duncan, and I will. But there's no reason for my coming up to your apartment to make my plans.
I'd like you to come. I want you to have a special interest in this case. Me.
It would be much too disconcerting, I'm afraid.
Oh, no.
Please let me call you back when I find out something about your husband.
Afraid there isn't anything else I can do. Goodbye, Vance. Happy hunting.
Thank you. And the same to you. Goodbye.
Well, I think I'd better go.
Please don't be afraid, Mrs. Tom Duncan. Tondo.
How did you get in here?
Through a window.
Well, get right out through a window, whoever you are, and fast.
Tondo, no get out. Tondo must talk to
No,
you.
keep away from me. Keep away, I said. I told you to keep away.
No gun, Mrs. Tom Duncan, no gun.
No, that's what you think. Now, will you get out of here?
Tondo must talk. Give me gun. Quick, give me gun.
No, let go of my hand. Let go right here.
Tondo, take gun. Somebody get hurt. Maybe Mrs. Tom Duncan.
Well, what do you want?
Tondo work for Mr. Tom Duncan in own country. Help him and Mr. Hillary find ivory. Tondo know what happened to Mr. Tom Duncan.
Oh?
Mr. Tom Duncan dead. Mr. Hillary kill him. I help you prove this to police. Unless Mr. Hillary return ivory to me, I must bring ivory back.
Oh, so that's the idea, is it? And Joe did kill Tom. Sit down, Tondo. Sit down. Maybe we can work out something after all.
It seems logical enough to me that if we ought to find out what happened to Tom Duncan in Africa, we come here to see Joe Hillary, the man he was with. Agree, Markham?
Definitely, Vance. Coming?
Yep. Out your side. Rather nice house Hillary lives in.
Yes, it is. Perhaps we should have phoned to make sure he's in.
That would have given him too much of a chance to have somebody say he wasn't in.
Again, your logic goes unquestioned, Vance. You want to handle the bell?
I think I can take care of that assignment. There. Would a murder in Africa still come under your jurisdiction, Markham?
Well, Vance, that remains to be seen. If it were a murder, and if...
Yes?
How do you do? I'm Philo Vance, and this is District Attorney Markham.
Oh, I'm Donna Benton.
How do you do?
You want to see Mr. Hillary?
Yes, is he at home?
Yes, he is. Please come in.
Thank you.
I'm Mr. Hillary's secretary.
Oh, yes.
I've been working here all afternoon. Was taking a nap when the bell rang. Mr. Hillary is still in his workshop, I imagine.
Workshop?
Yes. It's down in the basement. He goes there to relax.
Oh.
It's right down this way, down the cellar steps.
We're behind you.
He spends hours down here when he's under a strain. And he certainly is since he got back from Africa.
Why is that?
He brought back $2 million in ivory. That's enough to put anybody under a strain.
It certainly is.
You know, when I left him down here this afternoon, he even put a bar on the inside of the door.
That's odd.
Well, here we are. Just a second.
Perhaps he fell asleep, too.
Well, there's no place to sleep in there, just a room full of tools and junk.
Doesn't sound too comfortable.
Mr. Hillary? Mr. Hillary!
The door's locked. Just a moment while I try that keyhole.
Yes.
The key's still in it. Markham, there's an axe over there in the corner.
I'll get it.
You think something's happened to Mr. Hillary?
It would certainly seem so. Any windows in that room?
None. The only way you can get in or out is through this door, and it's locked from the inside.
Here's the axe, Vance.
Thank you. Better stand back, both of you.
I hope nothing's happened to him.
I hope you're right.
There, you got through the panel, Vance. I'll reach in and turn the key. There. Yeah, now let's... The door still doesn't open.
He barred the door from the inside. I heard him do it.
Yes, I can feel a bar. Wait just a second and I'll get it off if I can, but reaching... Let's go in, Vance.
I'm with you. Pitch black in here.
There's a light switch by the side of the door.
You find it, Vance?
Not yet, but I'm looking. Oh, where is it? Oh, I've got it. There.
Look at that, Vance. That body on the floor.
On the floor with a knife in its back. Is that Mr. Hillary?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
Murdered in a locked room, locked and barred from the inside with no windows. Vance, this kind of a mystery should be enough for even you.
Markham, right now, the only thing I can tell you is that it's too much for even me.
This is District Attorney Markham. The Ivory Murder Case began in Africa, but culminated here in the killing of Joe Hillary, knifed to death in his small workshop under impossible conditions. We know that Tom Duncan, Hillary's partner in the ivory hunt, disappeared in Africa, and that Duncan's wife wasn't too concerned. And from Hillary's secretary, Donna Benton, we found out that Tondo, an African native, had threatened Hillary. Vance has met Miss Benton outside the warehouse where the ivory was stored in an effort to...
I imagine you were very fond of your employer, Miss Benton, and that his death must have come as a great shock to you. I'm very sorry to trouble you like this.
It's all right, Mr. Vance. I don't see the purpose of coming down here to this warehouse, but if you do, I want help.
Thank you. The mystery of that locked room is too fantastic for solution at the moment. Perhaps I can get to the bottom of this case by finding the motive. I believe it to be the ivory that's stored here. Do you have the keys?
Yes, I'm getting them. Here they are.
I can see how $2 million in ivory might provide an excellent reason for killing your employer.
I suppose that's so. Vance, there's a light on in here. There shouldn't be a light on. Somebody's been here.
Somebody is here. You just knocked something over. Sounded like it came from that direction.
Vance, look. That figure, just going out the window. Stop him.
I'll try. You, stop! Stop or I'll shoot!
Shoot, Vance, quickly. Did you hit him?
I don't know. He was just getting out the window, and I'm not sure.
Let's go after him.
I'm afraid he has too much of a start on us. I'd better notify the police.
They've got to find that man.
Well, we won't find him. That man got too much of a jump on us. That is, if it was a man.
If it was a man?
Yes.
Of course it was a man. We saw him go over the window ledge. He was wearing a turban. You saw that turban. That was Tondo Vance, the native I told you about.
In that case, it shouldn't be difficult to pick him up.
No, I guess not.
However, it might have been a woman who wore that turban.
But I tell you, Tondo wore one just like that when he came to Mr. Hillary's office.
I know. All the more reason why somebody else might have worn one when they came down here.
You've been quiet a while, Vance, thinking?
Definitely. While we're en route to Mrs. Duncan's house, I can think of nothing better to do than try and figure out the mystery of the locked workshop where Hillary was killed.
Now, you go right ahead. I won't disturb you. But I bet you're glad I'm going with you, and as much as we're going to see Mrs. Duncan.
Very glad. Markham, in fiction, there are several ways people have been killed in locked rooms.
Certainly. The most commonplace one, of course, is where a thin pair of pliers is used to turn the key from the outside.
Then there's the business of trapdoors, false windows, and so on.
Uh-huh.
Only none of them apply to this particular locked door situation.
Wait a minute, Vance.
Yeah?
I think I have an idea.
What is it?
Now, this is going to be in your territory a little, but listen. Let's suppose that the knife was attached to one of the springs that were in that workshop. It was an iron pipe, let's say, so that it would be pointed in the right direction.
Go on.
Well, a wire held the spring back. The wire was brought around the floor and placed in a position where, when Hillary nudged it, or kicked it, or tripped over it, it would let the spring snap and hurl the knife into Hillary's back. Vance, it could have been done that way.
You mean because of all the wire and springs lying around the room, it would be something Hillary wouldn't have seen?
That's right.
It's possible.
That's it, Vance. It's the only possible explanation.
It might have happened that way. I'll let you know after we see Mrs. Duncan.
Good. You know, I rather like myself for that theory, Vance.
I assure you that the affection is not misplaced. But what I want to know right now is whether Mrs. Duncan wore a turban and got herself shot at by me down at the warehouse.
And if she did?
You'll find out, my friend. And so will she. I'm fairly certain this case is coming to a very successful conclusion, Markham.
We know how the murder was committed. All we have to do is find out who did it.
I never agreed that we did know how the murder was committed. All I said was your theory was possible. Hello, Mrs. Duncan.
Well, Vance. And Markham. What did you bring him for? Protection?
Perhaps. May we come in?
Why?
Well, for one thing, so we can ask you why it is that your arm is bandaged.
I sprained it. And you see, you can ask that just as well when you're standing outside.
It isn't the answer he expected, I can tell you that.
He's given me so many wrong answers. What could he expect? I'm sorry I can't invite you in, gentlemen. Unless, of course, this is a very official visit, in which case I have no alternative.
It is official, but we have no warrant, if that's what you mean. Your arm interests me very much, Mrs. Duncan.
Good day, gentlemen. Please call me if there's anything else I can do for you.
Mrs. Tom Duncan? Mrs. Tom Duncan?
Oh, I'm coming, Tondo. And I'll have that arm of yours fixed up in no time. Bullet wounds can be very dangerous.
You fix for Tondo. Tondo, remember this always.
Oh, it's all right, Tondo. It's the least I can do for you after all you've tried to do for me.
Hello?
Is this John of Benton?
Yes.
District Attorney Markham, Miss Benton.
Yes, Mr. Markham. Have you found out anything yet?
Vance and I think we have.
Oh, what is it?
Would it be convenient for you to be at Mr. Hillary's home this afternoon?
Why, yes, I imagine so.
Please be there, then.
Of course.
Philo Vance thinks there will be some people there you want to meet, and for that matter, so do I.
What's the reason for this?
I think we can prove how your employer was killed and who killed him. Pretty good reason, don't you think?
All right, Tondo. That bandage will hold. And after you put your coat on, nobody will notice it.
Thank you, Mrs. Tom Duncan. Thank you. Now, I must go back and get Ivory.
Well, there's really no hurry about that, is there, Tondo? I mean, you can wait a while, can't you?
Tondo must bring Ivory back to own country. Is reason Tondo come here. Tondo sorry he caused many people many trouble.
Tondo should be sorry.
Oh, Mr. Vance.
That's right. While Markham and I were talking to you a little while ago, I took the liberty of snapping the lock on your door so I could come back.
You not want him here? Tondo, take care of him, Mrs. Duncan.
That would be a man-sized job even if we had two good arms, Tondo. No, just sit there till we hear what Vance has to say.
It isn't very much. I just want both of you to come down to Joe Hillary's workshop in the basement of his house at 4 o'clock.
Oh?
You see, we've figured out, at least Mr. Markham has figured out, how the murder was accomplished. We want you there.
Why us?
Oh, come now, Mrs. Duncan. I think we can prove who killed Hillary. So it's practically imperative for you two to be there.
All inside, Vance.
That's good.
Secretary, Donna Benton, Mrs. Duncan, and Tondo. Standing right inside the workshop door.
Good. Here's where we test your theory, Markham.
I think I know the test. I've seen you do it. You've set up a knife inside an iron pipe and held it back with a spring. Then you stretched a wire that held the spring back over to the spot where we found Hillary's body.
That's right.
You and I know that's how Hillary was killed, and one other person knows it, the murderer.
Presumably.
We'll ask each one of them to walk over to the spot where the wire is stretched, after informing them all that the room is exactly the way it was when Hillary was murdered. The one that refuses to walk over to that spot, lest he trip the wire and release the knife, must be the murderer.
Well, come on in, Markham, and we'll see.
This is really ridiculous.
My apologies to you all. May I have your attention? Thank you. You're all entitled to know why you're here.
Well, I should think so.
There was a murder committed in this room. A murder committed presumably behind a locked and barred door.
That's right.
All right, Markham, take over.
Right, Vance. Now, listen, everyone. We figured out how that murder was accomplished, and we've arranged this room just as it was when Joe Hillary came down here the day of his death.
What do you mean you arranged this room?
We believe Hillary walked into a death trap, a trap that involved a spring, a knife, and a wire. We found Hillary in that corner over there. Mrs. Duncan?
Yes?
Please walk over toward that corner now.
Oh, no, Mr. Markham, please.
Do as I say.
And get myself killed? I'm too attractive to die, remember? Get yourself somebody else.
Tondo, you walk over there.
No, Tondo not walk over there. Tondo afraid. Tondo get killed like Mr. Hillary get killed.
According to your theory, Markham, that makes 2 murderers you have.
It is a little confusing, isn't it? Miss Benton,
Yes, Mr. Markham.
please walk over to that spot in the corner.
Certainly. Well, here I go.
Stop.
Well, Markham, by your reasoning, this murder was done by Mrs. Duncan and Tondo.
Exactly. They worked in collaboration. Mrs. Duncan wanted Hillary dead because he wouldn't give her a share in the ivory after killing her husband. Tondo helped her because she promised to help him get the ivory back to Africa.
Your reason for believing the 2 of them committed the murder was because neither would walk to a spot where they thought they might be killed just as Hillary was killed.
Yes, only Miss Benton didn't refuse to walk over there.
In that case, Markham, take my word for it. You can arrest Miss Benton for murder.
Why shouldn't I have killed him? What was I supposed to do? Let him kick me around the rest of my life?
Now, really,
Lie to
Miss
me, promise me things.
This is
And then when he got that ivory, practically
Ever
kicked
seen
me
anything
out.
like this, Markham?
Sure, I killed
Take her
him.
out, Daniels, will you?
Yes, sir.
I'd do the same
Come
thing
on now,
again.
Miss
Let me
That's
go.
enough, Miss-
I'd kill him again. Who did he think he was? I was entitled.
Oh. Vance, did you ever know a man as wrong as I was back in the Hillary house?
Forget it, my friend. Your theory was excellent. Really, it was.
Well,
The murder might have been done the way you said.
only it wasn't, and that doesn't make me feel any better. How was it done, Vance?
First of all, let me tell you why I didn't think it was done your way.
Yes.
It took too much for granted. In order for your idea to work, Hillary would have had to be in one particular spot in that room. Well, suppose he never went to that spot. In that case, he'd still be alive. Only he'd have found the wire and have known who planted it.
Oh.
No, Markham, the murderer wouldn't have taken that chance.
Apparently not. But tell me then, why did Tondo and Mrs. Duncan refuse to walk toward that spot?
Why shouldn't they refuse? You announced you were going to make them do just what Hillary did when he was killed. Isn't that enough to make any normal person refuse?
Yes, it is. And Donna Benton, knowing exactly how she killed Hillary, would have no compunction about walking into any corner.
That's right. Like to know how the murder was committed?
I most certainly would.
Hillary was alive, but unconscious when we started with the axe on his door.
Uh-huh.
Miss Benton's confession will tell how she drugged him before he went down. I'm sure of that.
If you say so, all right. Hillary is alive. We broke down the door. Then what?
Then Miss Benton ran over to where his body was, plunged a knife into it, while you and I were fumbling for the light switch.
She saw the body in the dark?
Yes, she could see the outline. That was all she needed.
I imagine if we hadn't gotten there, she'd have called the police and would have done her little knife trick when they broke down the door. Well, all I can say is thanks, Vance. Thanks for figuring this out. I have to admit I imagined you would from the very beginning.
All I can say is that I'm glad we're at the end of the Ivory murder case.
Jackson Beck as Philo Vance, 75 years ago, March 28th, 1950, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Orson Welles next in The Lives of Harry Lime, the Third Man.
This is basic civil defense information from the Department of Defense, Office of Civil Defense, Washington. If our nation ever comes under nuclear attack and you take shelter to protect yourself from radioactive fallout, water is the key emergency supply. Each person will need at least a quart a day, and if there's not enough water stored in your shelter, here are additional places to find it, especially if you plan to use a home shelter where you'll be on your own. Local authorities may instruct you to turn off the main water valve. When you do this, the pipes inside the house will still be full of water. Next, turn on the faucet located at the highest point in your house to let air into the system. Then use water from the faucet located at the lowest point in your house. You can also use water in your hot water heater, in the flush tanks, or water in ice cube trays, milk, soft drinks, canned juices. If necessary, you can even drink water that's been exposed to fallout. However, very young children should be given non-contaminated liquids when available. For more information, consult your local civil defense office.
We continue now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of what I guess you'd have to call the first prequel. I mean, we had a number of sequels to shows, but this was the first radio prequel to anything, The Lives of Harry Lime, starring Orson Welles, 73 years ago, March 28th, 1952. And it had to be a prequel because Harry Lime died in the Third Man motion picture. Here we hear Orson Welles reprising that role in this episode, Pleasure Before Business.
Presenting Orson Welles as the Third Man. The Lives of Harry Lime, the fabulous stories of the immortal character originally created in the motion picture The Third Man, with zither music by Anton Karas.
You know, there are two kinds of men who should be wary and suspicious of women. The serious businessman, because women can be so frivolous, and the frivolous seeker after pleasure, because women can be so serious. Now I, Harry Lime, am both a serious businessman of sorts and a seeker after pleasure, so perhaps I should avoid women entirely. But the trouble is, I just can't seem to do without them, for either. Sometimes life gets very complicated with business and pleasure. But interesting. Always interesting.
And now, Orson Welles as Harry Lime, the Third Man, in today's story, Pleasure Before Business.
It was in Venice, not long after the war was over, that I found myself with a problem on my hands. It wasn't the old Venetian one about finding a place to park my car. I had a very solid and sound business transaction all lined up, but I was sorely in need of what I called a partner, of what the police of several countries would have been pleased to refer to as an accomplice. Accordingly, I was highly pleased while strolling about among the pigeons and people in St. Mark's Square one day when I espied Joan Willoughby, who was standing there scattering bounty to the birds. Why, Joan Willoughby, how are you?
Harry Lime, what are you doing in Venice?
That's a question I was going to ask you.
Oh, me? Holiday. And you?
Business.
I'm glad to hear it. Ought to be able to make a bob or two tipping off the coppers.
Always were a heavy tipper, weren't you, my love? I need a partner.
Do you now? Girl?
Girl.
Dangerous?
No, not very.
Fun?
Lots.
Money in it?
Quite a bit.
Well, holidays can be quite boring, don't you think? What's the game this time, and do I need much of a wardrobe?
I'll tell you privately. Let's get out in the canal. Do you mind if we use a boat?
All right.
We rented a gondola and floated slowly down the Grand Canal. It was a handy bit of luck meeting Joan. She was an English girl, and as delicately simple and unassuming as roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. As beautiful as the English bone china, but with as much bite as English mustard on the side. She had the realism and the sound business sense of a robber baron. In the gondola, she trailed her hand in the water and waited for me to tell her what was up.
Well?
Joan, have you ever heard of somebody called the Count de la Robbia?
No.
Well, he's the usual Italian count, except that he's saved one or two things. Still has his palace, still has some valuable pictures, still has jewels.
And we're after the jewels?
We're after the jewels. He's a friend of mine. I've known him for at least 3 weeks.
He's still friends with you, Harry?
Mm-hmm. He likes me, trust me.
But?
Exactly, but I can't find out where he keeps the jewels. Oh, I might be able to in time if it weren't for this Rico.
At which point I say who or what is Rico?
Who he is doesn't matter. What he is matters greatly. He is, or seems to be, 7 feet tall.
A big stumbling block, Harry. Perfect description.
He's the Count's bodyguard. He's killed several men who've tried to cheat the Count. He does not like me, Rico.
And that's why you need me.
Exactly.
Do I work on the Count or Rico?
You work on the Count.
That's good.
I'll be the second story man on the job and try and distract his 7-foot shadow. All you have to do is find out where the jewels are kept.
You'll probably discover that they're kept in Rico's pocket.
No, I think that's where Rico keeps the Count.
Oh, you've got a fence?
Of course. I'll need to make me happy as a fence. Count's little ivy-covered palace. And you, my dear Joe.
What sort of split are you offering?
Shall we say 60-40?
We shall say 50-50.
Well...
50-50, Harry.
All right.
Fine. When do I meet the Count?
Tonight.
I can't wait.
I don't think you'll have to, my dear. So that was that. When I had the jewels in my hand, it would be time enough to inform Joan that the split would be 70-30. She was a sensible girl, and business, after all, is business. That night, I brought Joan to the cafe that I knew the Count frequented. He was there, all right, and so was Rico. We went directly to their table.
Ah, Mr. Lime, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Count. I'd like to present Miss Joan Willoughby, the Count de la Robbia.
How do you do?
Charmed, Miss Willoughby.
And Rico.
Hello.
Rico? Rico what?
It's just Rico is enough.
I'll say it's enough.
You must sit down here, Miss Willoughby. You must share our table.
Why, thank you.
That's very good of you, Count.
Count de la Robbia.
Yes, Rico?
Does this man have to be here?
Of course he stays, Rico. Miss Willoughby, you are visiting our city?
Yes, it's the first time. Oh, I love it. But you know, you Italians all look so sad.
Our recent history has not been happy.
When I see someone, well, like you, Count, with big, black, sad eyes like yours, I say to myself, I want to do something to make that man happy.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure, Miss Willoughby, that I'm quite...
Yes. That's exactly what Joan is here for, Count. She just wants to lift all your cares.
I mean it, Harry. Count de la Robbia, there's nothing I'd like better than to get to know this beautiful city, really know it, and, well, some of the people.
Well, I think it might be possible to arrange.
Perhaps it's not a time for Mr. Lime to leave, Count.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Lime, but he is my keeper, my confidant, my advisor.
I'm sorry, too, old man, but Miss Willoughby has already agreed to ride in the rumble seat of my gondola tonight.
The English lady has said she wishes the Count to show Venice to her.
But she has an engagement with me, little friend of all the world.
Oh, Harry, don't be stuffy.
Count, I appeal to you now.
I'm unable to control Rico, you know, Mr. Lime.
Yes, I'm afraid I wouldn't know which button to push either.
Besides, Harry, I never met a Count before. I'm just full of questions about crests, coats of arms, you know, and all that sort of thing.
Oh, just a moment. I have a suggestion. Perhaps even though I am showing the city to Miss Willoughby, perhaps Mr. Lime can stay with us.
An excellent idea, Count. It solves all our difficulties.
No.
Oh. No, Rico?
Rico says no.
No, Count. If this man is along, it will ruin the pleasure you and Miss Willoughby want to have. He leave.
Oh, he leaves, eh?
See.
Well, it looks like Rico's got my evening all planned.
Oh, don't feel too bad, Harry, darling.
Come.
Well, why argue, Joan? He's bigger than both of us.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lime, but with Rico I can do nothing.
I don't think I could do much either.
And I'm out of condition. Rico escorted me to the street with a grip on my forearm that wasn't cleared in my insurance policy. I didn't let the elation I felt show in my face until he'd gone back to join the others. Joan was punching away like Joe Louis, and the Count would be wide open for a sucker punch, but pronto. He called me the next evening. Yeah?
Mr. Lime? This is the Count de la Robbia.
Oh, yes. Hello, Count.
I'm sorry you couldn't be with us last night, but Rico, you know, has his prejudices.
Oh, I wouldn't cheat him out of one of them, old man.
That is a very charming girl, that Jonah Willoughby.
I think she is, yes.
I'm wondering where I can get in touch with her.
You didn't ask her?
No. Confidentially, I tried to find out, but she was somewhat coy about it. Do you think she likes me?
Well, I don't know. Of course, old man, I was only there for the preliminaries. I missed the main bout, but it seemed to me that she did. After all, she was willing to break her date with me.
That is true. I like her so very much. I was afraid to press my luck. Is that how you say it?
Yes, that's how you say it. You want me to press on for you?
I would be indebted if you would.
I'll try, Count, and I'll let you know if I find her.
Thank you, Mr. Lime. Goodbye.
Goodbye, old man.
Was that the Count, Harry?
Yeah. We've got him where we want him, Joan. He's looking all over Venice for you.
Is he now? Oh, the old dear.
I've told him I'll try to find you. I think it might take me at least 2 or 3 days, don't you?
Well, don't let it take too long.
I'm as anxious to get the jewels as you are, honey, but I think, you know, under the circumstances.
Yes, the jewels.
Dear lady, what do you mean, oh, yes, the jewels, with that tone of voice?
Nothing. He really was taken with me,
Of course he was. I'm going to let him stay until he's ready to be taken in style.
Oh, he's such a shy old dear.
Dear enough to wait 3 days for him. The next night at the same cafe, I ran into the Count once more. He was mournfully staring into a glass of Chianti.
And you cannot find her, Mr. Lime?
Not yet. Of course, I don't know her too well, Count, but I'm still looking.
Look well, you. The Count has spoken. He wants to see that girl.
I'm sure Mr. Lime is doing all he can, Rico.
Looking high and low, my dear Rico. Not as high as you, of course, but low. Yes, indeed, low.
Mr. Lime, this young lady means a great deal to me. You would not suspect it, but I am a lonely man. I have only Rico.
Well, personally, I think Rico is plenty.
Mind your tongue, Americano.
Considerate-minded, Tiny Tim.
She is so charming, and even though I am shy, she seems not to mind. Most girls do not like her when a man suffers from being shy.
Well, Joan's a very sympathetic girl. She's suffered herself, you know.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Her family was very wealthy, but during the war, when England was fighting for its very existence, she and her father poured their wealth into the war effort. Nothing mattered to them but patriotism.
Viva!
Viva! Yes, you're so right. After the war, nothing was left but Joan's jewels. And though jewels meant everything to us, they do to most women, she sold them without hesitation in order that her old father might eat.
Oh, that is very touching.
Yes, I have always thought so.
Jewels mean a great deal to her, eh?
Well, they did once, old man. She has none left now.
Jewels might win her heart.
Well, they might.
Mr. Lime, when you find her, I hope you will be able to persuade her to come to see me, no matter when it is, no matter what the time. Bring her to me even in the middle of the night, even to my palace.
The middle of the night, your palace. It's a date, old man. It's a date. I took him at his word, because there was nothing I'd like better than to have Joan in the Count's palace. First, of course, I briefed her on the little English history I invented about her. I let the Count ferment in his own grape juice. But finally...
See?
Mr. Lime, Rico, I've Joan Willoughby with me.
The English girl?
Hello, Rico.
Joan Willoughby! Open the door, Rico! Mr. Willoughby, it is such a pleasure. Hello, Mr. Lime. Come in. This way. We will go to the drawing room.
Oh, this is a lovely place.
You will like it. We have still a few things of value here, saved from the war, saved from Mussolini. You see, this picture. Small, but beautiful, is it not?
Oh, it is very beautiful.
È Tintoretto.
That small but beautiful picture must be worth a small but beautiful fortune, Count.
Always you are interested in the price of things, my friend.
Scarcely worth
it. What do you say, Count? Go right ahead.
It's scarcely worth a fortune. About 2,000 English pounds, I would say. But come, now, come this way.
Oh, dear.
Oh, why, what is the matter, Miss Willoughby?
This place.
I know, Joan. It reminds her of the home that she lost, Count.
Oh, Mr. Lyme has told me about your family, Miss Willoughby. He has told me, too, about your jewels.
Oh, yes, my jewels. I shall never see them again.
Perhaps tonight I could show you my jewels. Perhaps you would like to see them.
Yes, that would probably cheer you up a great deal, wouldn't it, my dear?
If you wish.
Count de la Robbia.
Yes, Rico?
Oh.
If you are to show the jewels, this man must believe.
Oh.
Our 7-foot duenna has spoken again.
In a way, Mr. Lyme, Rico is right. The jewels are most valuable. It would be wrong of me to allow everybody to see them or see where I hide them.
I see. Or rather, the idea is I shouldn't see. Of course, with Miss Willoughby, it's different. Jewels are for women, and a Joe like myself hasn't the slightest curiosity about them. Canaletto, landscapes, or Hispana Suizas. As a man, I have to be on the lookout for bigger things.
You leave now.
Yes, Rico, you're one of those bigger things I keep an eye on. And so I left, knowing that Joan was going to accomplish her mission this night, and that soon, very soon, the long hand of fate and Rico permitting, we would be all set, as they say in another popular sport, ready to take the count.
In a moment, Orson Welles returns as Harry Lime, the third man. And now, Orson Welles as Harry Lime, the third man, continues today's story, Pleasure Before Business.
Back in my hotel room, I waited for Joan to return from the Count's palazzo, tell me how and where those jewels were keeping. I didn't merely twiddle my thumbs, of course. I twiddled my fingers on a phone and made reservations on several different trains and planes, because after I got the jewels, a strategic retreat from Venice and from the long arm of Rico would be definitely in order. Finally, quite late.
Hello, Harry, darling.
Did you find out where the jewels are kept,
Oh, let the girl catch her breath, will you?
That's small pickings, my dove. What else have you caught?
I've had a very interesting evening, Harry.
You sound like the local lady's aide. Hope you learned something you can take home with you.
The Count is such a sweet old duck. He seems lonely, Harry.
Well, that's what you're there for, my Duchess. Now, what did you find
Oh,
out?
he's so grateful for a little attention. He likes to talk to people.
And did he whisper that sweet something in your ear about where his jewels are kept?
Oh, the jewels. Well,
Yes.
keeps them locked in a safe.
And that he's not unique. Now, look, Joan, where is the safe?
In the drawing room. It's too bad you never got to see the drawing room, Harry, because it's got one of the loveliest...
Safes, I know. Is it on the ground floor?
Yes.
Good, I can get in the window.
The furnishings in that room, oh, Harry...
Don't be greedy, dear. The jewels will have to do. Where exactly is the safe?
Oh, it's on the floor. It's built into the floor under the carpet. You should see the designs he's got on that carpet.
You should see the designs I've got on that safe. Well, what's the combination?
What's the funny thing about that? I didn't really notice the combination.
What?
I mean, consciously notice it, Harry. Consciously, yet... Well, the Count was talking, you see, while he opened it, and he was so interesting
His talk
that
was interesting, so you didn't make an effort to notice the combination?
That's right. You see, he was telling me about how his family had always had that space in the floor as a hiding place for centuries back, and he himself installed the modern safe there, he and Rico, because this was while Mussolini was ruling the country, and Pucci didn't trust...
Pucci? Oh, brother.
I call the Count Pucci.
Oh, isn't that dandy?
You know, Harry, he didn't trust the black shirt artisans he would have had to hire because Mussolini...
Joan.
What?
Combination to the safe, honey.
Oh, that.
Yes, that.
Oh. Well, I didn't notice it consciously, but you see, I've trained myself so well that subconsciously, well, here's the combination.
Good. A little more of that kind of stalling, my sweet, and you'll be having trouble with your Uncle Harry. This does it, Joan. I'll get the jewels tomorrow night.
I see, and I keep Pucci away from the palace for you.
Not on your life. I want him in that mausoleum when I take the jewels.
Oh, but Harry...
If he's out, there's always the chance he may come back and catch me. If he's in, and I wait till he's in bed, 2 stories above the drawing room, I'm pretty safe. 2 stories with me are as good as an alibi any time.
Oh, but Harry, I have a date with Pucci tomorrow night.
Joan, all I wanted you to do was to get the combination of the safe. You don't have to do any more work on Pucci Cucci. It counts.
Don't I, Harry? Don't I really?
No. Remember, on this job, you don't get time and a half for overtime. So I had to postpone the compounding of my little felony. I wanted the Count to be safely in bed when I tackled that safe. Dreamland was one place where he couldn't keep an eye on me. And if Joan had a date with him, it would be inadvisable for her to break it, that's all. Count mustn't be kept up at night worrying about Joan or anything else. Uneasy lies the head that wears a frown. Count must be kept in the mood for deep, happy slumber. So I let Joan keep her date, reflecting that one night more wouldn't matter. But the next night...
But I have a date with Poochie again tonight.
More smoochy with Poochie. Or was that the last date? Poochie, it seemed, wanted to be a regular fellow with Joan, and she, every curved inch of her a woman, seemed willing to oblige. Finally, I told her that she had to refuse one date. Just one.
But Harry, darling, he shows me such a good time.
She did, however, refuse him the date, saying that she had to catch up on some correspondence. I think she meant writing letters. The next night, I watched the windows of the palace till all the lights had been turned out, and for some time afterwards, just to be on the safe side, which is precisely where I was heading. It was nearly 2 a.m. when I jimmied open the window of the Count's drawing room. Joan had told me exactly where to turn up the carpet. I did turn it up, and there was the safe, embedded in the floor. I checked the combination and went ahead, avoiding a temptation to whistle as I worked.
Harry.
The devil. Oh, Joan.
Harry, you mustn't take those jewels.
Whisper, can't you?
Don't take the jewels.
What are you talking about?
It isn't fair,
What
Harry.
isn't fair?
Taking money from Poochie.
Poochie, schmoochie. Are you out of your mind?
You'd call it that, Harry Lime. I guess I'd call it love.
Call it anything as long as you whisper it. I'm getting out of here before friend Rico gets a crush on me.
You're not leaving like this, Harry Lime. You're not going to take those jewels.
No, I've heard everything. I think...
I don't care what you think. I love Poochie. Do you hear me?
Is everybody here, you English woman?
Rico, he's got the Count's jewels.
Stop where you are, Mr. Lime. I've used this gun before.
Okay. Hold your fire, Buster.
I think I will shoot.
No,
this was a plan that both of you had, wasn't it? You and the girl.
Yes, Rico, it's true. I found out where the jewels were kept, and I love Poochie, and I don't.
Jonah, you love me.
Oh, Poochie, darling.
Count de la Robbia, this woman and this man have conspired to rob you.
That doesn't matter now. You love me, Jonah.
I will shoot both of them, Count.
Yes, I love you.
Glorioso. Put down that ridiculous gun, Rico.
Oh,
yes, you've done your work, Kid Cupid. No need for those 38 caliber darts.
Oh, Poochie, we both tried to cheat you and rob you. I'm not what you thought I was. I've always lived on my wits. I'm a crook, and so is Harry.
Now, pardon me while I put a nickel on the drum.
Stop it, Harry. Poochie, we're both guilty. You can kill us, or you can turn us out, or
I can take you in my arms.
Oh, Poochie.
Stay where you are, Mr. Lime.
Sorry, your slightest swish of that gun is my command.
Just a moment, Carissima. I must take care of your friend, Mr. Lime. I'm sorry I cannot oblige you in the matter of the jewels.
Oh, of course. Now, don't apologize, old boy. Your wife will be needing all this ice to cool her neck on hot summer evenings.
Even so. And now I think it would be best for you to leave.
I quite understand. No need to show me the door.
I will show you to the door just the same.
Count, I'm a relatively simple man. My wants are few. Could I, for once, leave your presence without having this gargantuan gargoyle making like a Boy Scout?
Mr. Lime, I owe you some gratitude. After all, you did introduce me to Joan. I would like to repay you. I fear I can't.
I know. It's not the principle, it's the money.
But perhaps I can show you the high regard in which, despite everything I hold you, by asking you to be best man at my wedding.
Count de la Robbia and Joan de la Robbia to be, and all the little de la Robbias to be. It will be a pleasure.
Oh, I'm so glad, Poochie, you don't hold anything against Harry.
Quite the contrary. Goodbye, Mr. Lime.
Arrivederci.
And I will go to the door with you.
Oh, no. Another compound fracture would be too much in one busy week.
No, Rico. This man has brought me great happiness. We must allow him to live like an honest man.
Well, at least like an able-bodied man.
Who knows? Perhaps such treatment will actually make an honest man of Mr. Lime.
Count de la Robbia, I'm tremendously touched, but I hope I'm never that touched. Goodbye, my dear friend. Goodbye, Joan.
Goodbye.
Until the wedding, then. Goodbye, Rico. You make a wonderful flower girl.
Harry Lime returns in just a moment. And now, Harry Lime.
That night, leaving Venice, traveling up toward Milan on the train, I felt almost sorry that I couldn't, after all, be the best man at the wedding of those two people. But it was unfortunately necessary for me to leave Venice immediately, because, you see, on my way out of the Count's palace that night, unaccompanied, you may remember, by the ruddy Rico, I stopped to admire the little Tintoretto hanging in the entrance hall, the little picture which the Count had said was worth £2,000. As a matter of fact, that picture was worth £2,250, and I think I still have the dealer's receipt to prove it. So long now.
73 years ago, March 28, 1953, The Lives of Harry Lime, the Third Man, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Tomorrow, the Jimmy Carter Matter, an episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, from 1959, as a young boy in rural Massachusetts calls Johnny to report a murder. Johnny gets to town. Nobody can find Jimmy. Dragnet from 1953, an old man poorly dressed robs a liquor store and is very apologetic about it. The Mysterious Traveler from 1949, Death Has a Cold Breath. A broken-down actor inherits a fortune, a tempting scenario for his agent in need of some cold cash, and a cold corpse proves to be too cold. Edward Polly in Big Town from 1949, The Chill of Death. There's a chill wind of death coming down from the north. To Croc Miller, a gangster living in the Florida swamp, there's going to be a showdown. Keep your eye on the father of Cora May. And Alton H. Blackton's Yankee Yarns, program from 1950, Tales of April Fool's Jokes of the Past. That's all coming up on our Saturday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Up next, the final episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century.
Trained people are needed to meet disasters. To fill this need, the United States Office of Civil Defense, in cooperation with the United States Office of Education and local school systems, is offering a 12-hour course called Personal and Family Survival. The course includes discussions on the effects of radioactive fallout, how to plan for and live in fallout shelters, and what to do after a nuclear attack. To learn more about personal and family survival, consult your local civil defense director.
Learn about disasters of all kinds by going to ready.gov. That's ready.gov. Lots of good information there. And we also have more information in the show notes. Let me talk just a little bit about Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. It was really the first science fiction radio show, originally airing back in 1932 to 1936. It even predates one of the early shows that I enjoy a lot, and we run here on our local radio station every weekday morning for the kids, and that is The Magic Island. But Buck Rogers aired from 1932 to 1936. It aired in 1939, 1940, and from 1946 to 1947. This is the final episode of the program. Started off on CBS, and this episode was broadcast over Mutual. I believe it probably, well, I'm sure, we'll see here in a moment if I can identify. But a lot of people played Buck Rogers, and the show, the final episode of the show, kind of ties a bow on it. So let's go back to March 28th, 1947, for the final episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century.
Rocket Rangers, man your posts, while Post-Corn Toasties, the tender, crisp Fletcher cornflakes, take you beyond rocket power, beyond the atomic bomb, beyond the future. To Buck Rogers in the 25th century. We are now 500 years in the future with Buck Rogers on the planetoid Magna. By means of the new frequencies installed in one's brain by Dr. Huer, Number One is now able to issue commands to all the robots on the planetoid and, secure from any attack by the machines, Buck, Wilma, and One have come to the headquarters building to arrest Killer Kane and his criminal companions. Kane challenges Buck to a fight, and Buck accepts. They throw aside their weapons, and with Wilma, the two giant robots, and Brand standing by, the fight is on. Buck sidesteps Kane's first bull-like rush and drives a hard right home to the killer's jaw. Kane shakes it off and charges again. This time his fist crashes against the side of Buck's head. Buck staggers back, and Kane is on top of him. His great weight knocks Buck to the floor. But before he can be pinned down, Buck rolls aside and is on his feet once more. Now, moving with even greater speed, Buck lashes lefts and rights to Kane's face. But nothing can stop the killer from pouring in. Buck is forced to give ground, ducking, sidestepping, keeping just out of Kane's reach, still jabbing hard, straight left to the face. The criminal roars. Just let me get my hands on you once.
Keep it up, Buck. Keep him away with that left.
The fight surges back and forth in the center of the hall. Brand, cowering against the wall, slowly starts edging toward the windows, and at last he reaches them.
One. Brand's getting away. Look, he's going out the window.
Yes.
Go after him, One. Stop him.
He will be stopped. I wish to see the finish of this fight between good and evil.
But it's unfair. Kane's so much bigger and stronger.
Buck has the advantage of a brain.
Yes, but he... Good work, Buck. Keep it up. Oh, Buck, you've got to win.
Gosh, Mr. Williams, I can hardly keep my mind on what's happening up in Buck Rogers' world. I'm so anxious to know more about that circus coming to town.
You mean the circus coming to your grocery store?
Yeah, and that's what throws me. How can there be lions and monkeys and trapeze acts in a grocery store?
Don't forget, there's a whirling merry-go-round, too, and dancers. Twinkle Toes, the dancing clown, Tappin' Tom, the tap dancer, and that spectacular, stupendous, spine-chilling act, the human cannonball.
Gosh, in a grocery store. Well, tell me, how can a fella find out more about all this?
Simple. Just tune in next Sunday afternoon and every Sunday in April to the House of Mystery. It's on the same station, and see your newspaper for the time. And you know, boys and girls, a really good breakfast starts with a heaping bowl of the freshest, crispest cornflakes possible, post-corn toasties. And don't forget, listen next Sunday afternoon to House of Mystery on this same station. Learn more about the greatest show on earth in your grocery store. Rocket Rangers, man your post as we forge ahead in time 500 years. As the fight between Buck and Kane continues, Buck finds it more and more difficult to keep away from Kane. At last, his huge hands grasp Buck's shoulders. Buck is unable to free himself. Then, swiftly, Kane lifts him into the air and throws him across the room. Buck crashes into the deck.
Kane will kill him. We can't let him.
But before Kane can follow up his advantage, Buck has jumped to the top of the deck. As Kane charges, he dives at him, and once again the two men hurtle to the floor. Buck is on his feet instantly. Kane is slower in rising. He shakes his head before he starts for Buck again. But now, drawing on his last reserves of strength, Buck redoubles the speed of his attack. He hammers at the killer's face with left and right until the larger man is completely bewildered. Then he shifts his attack to the body. Now Kane is only trying to cover up. He snarls like a wounded animal. He turns his back and stoops to the floor. Buck drops his guard. Then he sees what Kane is about to do.
Buck, he's going for his gun.
As Kane raises the pistol, Buck's right drives against Kane's jaw. The great Hulk wavers for a moment, the pistol drops from his nerveless fingers, and Killer Kane drops to the ground. Buck staggers, catches himself, then puts a hand to his head as Wilma runs to him.
Buck! Oh, Buck, you did it. You beat him. Are you all right? Are you all right, Buck?
I'll tell you later. What a tough customer he turned out to be.
Well, he isn't very tough right now.
X, you will come with me. We will find the others.
Where's one going?
Brand slipped out of here while you and Kane were fighting.
He'll head for a spaceship. He's trying to make a getaway.
Don't worry about it, Buck. We saw him leave.
Well, then why didn't one go after him?
He didn't want to miss anything. and I was just as happy to leave him here. Oh, at the time, it looked as if Kane might win.
That's a fine thing to say. Didn't you have any confidence in me?
Tell the truth, Buck. Were you always sure you'd win?
When he first hit me, I thought I'd been kicked by a mule.
I have my first aid kit. I'll see what I can do to fix up your face.
How does it look?
Oh, it'll be hard to tell until we can clean it up a little. I imagine it'll look lovely. Something like a black and blue sunset.
I'll never mind it. First, we better tie up Kane, and then go after Brand.
You can leave him and Bassett to one. I'm sure one sent a message to the 10s to pick them up. They won't get away.
Okay. We'll just make sure that Kane doesn't. Then we'll call Doc and have him bring the submarine down. It's hard to believe, Wilma. But it looks as if the mission has been accomplished.
An hour later, Buck and Wilma watch the submarine land outside the headquarters building. Dr. Hewer hurries in to meet them.
Doc, what's happened to your face?
Don't you like sunsets?
What happened?
I ran into a door.
You sure it wasn't a stone wall?
You should see what happened to the other fellow.
I'd like to. Where is he?
Over there on the floor.
Killer Kane. Captured at last, Buck. It seems too good to be true.
I knew you'd recognize him, Doc. He looks just the way he used to.
Oh, well, not quite.
Yes, Rogers. I'll kill him.
The man is obviously delirious.
You tricked me.
Yes, it's a good trick, too. You should learn it. They call it a right to the jaw, Kane.
What are you going to do with me?
I'm going to take you back to Earth.
Then what?
Then you'll get what you deserve.
I got a right to a trial.
You'll have one.
But it won't last long.
Look, Rogers, maybe we can work a deal.
Try it with the Supreme Court of the Earth.
But here comes one now, and he doesn't have Brand or Bassett with him.
One, where are they?
Brand and Bassett have been captured and placed on board the submarine.
Oh, good.
They have been placed in the hospital.
The hospital?
In attempting to escape, they damaged themselves.
Seriously, I hope.
The damage is reparable. From them we learned what happened to X's brain.
Well, tell us.
Where's X now?
He has gone to the laboratory, where he will wait for me.
Well, what happened, One?
X wished to contact me on the Earth, and ordered that the power of his brain be increased.
The same way Dr. Hewer stepped yours up?
Yes, it was necessary to disassemble the brain. Kane, Brand, and Bassett arrived before the operation had been completed by the laboratory technician.
Oh, I see.
Brand stole the section of the brain which contained the law. And as a result, X was not able to distinguish between right and wrong. He carried out Kane's orders without questioning them.
And through him, Kane was able to control all the robots on the planetoid.
That is correct.
But One, where is the missing section? It must be replaced.
It has been found.
Where?
In a safe on board the spaceship belonging to these men.
Has it been damaged?
No. The missing section will be replaced within the next hour.
Okay, One, go to it.
With the law restored to X's brain, Magna will be safe from all criminal attacks.
And safe for the colonists from the Earth to come here.
That is correct.
All right, One, go to it. Get him fixed up. We'll load Kane on board the submarine. Be ready to start by the time you've finished.
I will carry Kane to the submarine.
Oh, I can manage that.
No. If it were possible for a machine to feel pleasure, then I would say this task will be a pleasant one for me. Hey, let go of me. Put me down. It is not advisable for you to struggle. As the inhabitants of the Earth have been heard to say, you, brother, are all washed up.
Well, Mr. Williams, I feel kind of sad. Honest. Because this is our last day hearing Buck Rogers.
I guess a whole lot of boys and girls feel that way, Tom. And I know that the Post people hope you've all enjoyed the excitement and wonder of the 25th century.
Gosh, who wouldn't? And I hope all the Buck Rogers fans have become Post-Corn Toasties fans.
I really believe, Tom, that just one trial of Post-Corn Toasties convinces everybody that they're the freshest, crispest cornflakes possible.
All I know is after the first bowlful, my family liked them so much that now we have Post-Corn Toasties every morning. But say, Mr. Williams, Maybe some fellas and girls missed hearing about that circus in a grocery store.
Well, I was just about to say that if all the boys and girls will listen next Sunday afternoon and every Sunday in April to House of Mystery, they'll find out more about how the greatest show on earth is going to be in local grocery stores. So remember, make a date. Next Sunday afternoon on this station. Hear House of Mystery. Look in your newspaper for the time. And say, hope you'll all keep right on enjoying the crisper, fresher cornflakes every morning. Hope you'll all start each day bright with Post Corn Toasties. Rocket Rangers, man your post as we drive on into the future. The missing section of X's brain is replaced, and after it has been thoroughly tested, one is satisfied that the management of the planetoid will be in safe hands once more. Then, one boards a submarine which is ready for the takeoff and joins Buck, Wilma, and Dr. Huer in the control room. Now, Buck is at the controls with Wilma beside him. Gyroscopic elevator.
Set.
Sensitizers.
Full power.
Rocket Rangers, man your post. Stand by for takeoff. Here we go.
Goodbye, Ed. Goodbye, Magnus.
Have you called the president yet, Buck?
No, Doc. I wanted to be able to tell him that we were on our way home.
Well, let one take the controls. Call him now.
Okay, one, take over. Straight into space, then circle the planetoid and head for the Earth.
It is in my brain.
No, wait.
Wait, what's the matter? I've already called him.
I'd forgotten. It's the middle of the night in Niagara.
Oh, he won't mind waking up for this news.
What's the idea? Call me in the morning.
Yes, sir. You say he wouldn't mind, woman? Yes, sir.
Buck, is that you? I was asleep. I didn't realize it was your telephone that was ringing.
Oh, I'm sorry to have disturbed you, sir.
No, that's perfectly all right. What do you have to report? What's happened?
The mission has been accomplished, sir. We're on our way home.
What? You really found Kane? You've taken him prisoner?
Kane and Brand and Bassett. All three of them are in the hospital on the submarine.
Did you say the hospital?
Well, they need a little medical attention at the moment.
Oh, yes.
But they're under heavy guard. They won't escape.
Buck, this is wonderful news. The Earth, the whole solar system is grateful.
We feel pretty happy about it ourselves,
You
yes?
deserve anything we can do for you. First, you get that leave I've been promising. You and your whole crew.
That's a dangerous promise, sir. Whenever you mention leave, something always happens.
Well, we won't let it happen. No, Buck, I promise, and I'll keep my promise.
Okay, sir.
Now, you just hurry home.
We will, sir. Good night, sir. Well, a vacation, gang. Where shall we go?
California.
Oh? Look, what about you and me going to Niagara Falls?
Well, that's just outside the capital.
I know. But in the 20th century, it had quite a reputation as a vacation spot. I'll tell you all about it before we get down to Earth.
And so the submarine soars on, blazing its way on through space. Beyond rocket power, beyond the atomic bomb, beyond the future, with Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Buck Rogers with John Larkin, Virginia Vass, and Edgar Staley has been coming to you by Post Corn Toasties. Beginning next week, Buck Rogers will no longer be heard at this time. Instead, Mutual will present a dramatic program of best-loved children's stories, Adventure Parade. Be sure and tune in at this time for Adventure Parade. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
John Larkin as Buck Rogers in the 25th century. The final episode, 78 years ago today, March 28, 1947. And as John Larson was the final Buck Rogers on radio, he was also the final Perry Mason on radio. He had done a lot of soap operas, daytime dramas, as they were called, The Road of Life, As the World Turns, and a number of other shows as well. And yes, Perry Mason, you may not know it, was a daytime drama, a quarter-hour show. Procter & Gamble sponsored it as one of their soap operas. And he was offered the opportunity to move it to TV, but the problem was Procter & Gamble couldn't come to terms with Earl Stanley Gardner regarding the position as a daytime character. And yes, while Mason remained with CBS, another actor took the role, and you know who he is, Raymond Burr. And in the process ended another radio show we enjoyed a lot, Fort Laramie. But Larkin did his first television leading role for The Edge of Night, Mike Carr on that show. He did a number of daytime dramas, Another World, when that soap moved to 90 minutes. And there you go. Larkin had went out to Hollywood, did a bunch of acting out there. He also, by the way, was on Perry Mason. Did some Lucy shows, Danny Thomas, The Rifleman, and a number of other programs. Larkin also did some feature film work. He passed away in 1965. He was just 52 years old, born in 1912. There you have it, the final episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, and I've got about a dozen other episodes, and since we have our primary 15-minute serials, Superman and Claudia, off until September, we'll bring you some of those in the next few months as well here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Join us tomorrow for more drama, and we'll be back with more Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.